Yeah, I would say so too. We had Melissa from the Just the Tipsters podcast. It's a true crime podcast, but
honestly, better than I thought.
yeah,
I wasn't expecting it to suck, but I wasn't expecting it to be as fun as it was.
yeah, we talked a lot about murder and serial killers, and
and I appreciated the fact that she didn't hold back on language. She was more than comfortable saying cunt and fuck. So
yeah,
I was happy. I was happy with that.
Yep. And then I think eventually we talk a little bit about comedy as well. She used to manage comedy clubs. So
and we're drinking vodka tonight. So if you're just tuning in, didn't get a heads up, fucking pour some vodka and be unhappy like we are.
Yeah. Now, if you're just tuning in, it's because you chose to, because this is after the fact. But
but I'm just saying, just tuning, like loading the podcast up on Apple Music, whatever the fuck they might be listening
to. We're drinking 360 vodka.
You're a fucking cunt.
So anyway, so yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
You can tell how fucking enthused and tired we both are.
No, we both drank more than we expected tonight. We didn't take a break in the middle, although you took a phone call and stepped out for a moment.
Because I felt my grandmother might be dead.
I know. So you're excited.
I wasn't excited.
I know. I'm just kidding. No. So yeah, it was a good conversation. Had a good time. Melissa's great. So check out, if you're into true crime, for sure, check it out. I mean, she's been involved in
some legitimate
helping solve some legitimate shit. Like I said, drank a little too much vodka. Yeah. She's been involved in some investigations and helping out and getting tips in that to help get some stuff solved. So she's very enthusiastic about some of that stuff.
Just the tip in it.
And she's surprisingly humble, because if I had helped get people arrested for a crime, that would be on my business card. I mean, I would not hold
Joey
that
Manning,
back.
Fucking crime
solver.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just call me McGruff.
The crime dog.
That's right.
DOWG. All right.
Anyway, so check out her podcast if you're into true crime.
Yep.
It's just the Tip-sters. Her name is Melissa Morgan. I think it's a long name, but anyway. Yeah. So without further ado, here's episode 103 with Melissa Morgan from Just the Tip-sters.
Thanks for listening. Hey, buddy.
What's up, you tired bitch?
Dude, I'm so fucking cranky
You're
tonight.
always tired and cranky.
I am more cranky than usual, though.
Yeah.
I was mad. Like, I pulled into your driveway this morning, and I was like, oh, God damn it.
Oh, well.
Yeah. It's one of those. Yeah. It's been a long day. I slept most of the day, granted, but it's been a very long week leading up to this day, I should say. So what are we drinking tonight?
You want to go through the housekeeping there?
Get on it then. Oh, you gave it to me. Yeah. Oh, shit. So, friends of the show, we have CQ with Pop Culture Warrior. I don't know any broadcast. You didn't write it down on here, but he's a cool dude. We like him.
Tuesday nights.
He plays his veteran card hardcore and gets some great fucking guests. Two Brothers Podcasts. They are like legitimately, I consider really good friends of the show. Like a lot of shout outs back and forth. They're good dudes. Trevor Jackson Podcast, which is one of the two brothers. Also have them Jackson Boys, who we had them on last week. They're all the same family. We really could say one and just put all their names on. We also have Andy Harris, who is the Andy Harris on Twitter. He has a new podcast called This. It's kind of like This Is I don't know what the fuck it is. It doesn't matter. Andy Harris.
This is Americans Live, and it's kind of spoofing This American Life.
Oh, gotcha. And then we have T-shirts and stickers. Hit us up if you want one.
Yeah.
Because our website won't let us have a fucking store right now. So, And then we have our website, b3fpodcast.com. My favorite part of that is there is a tab that says, tell us what you really think. You can click on that, and you can say whatever you want. It's completely anonymous, and the meaner and the more awful is the better for me. But also like, share, comment, review if you actually like any of this stuff. It helps us out greatly. And I don't care if they're 1-star reviews. Just the more reviews we have, the more visibility and blah, blah, blah. So tonight
we are drinking 360 vodka.
Yep.
When I spoke to our guest, probably been a month or so ago, which she said, I don't drink that often. When I do, it's usually vodka with some kind of, I think she called it redneck drink, like Mountain Dew or something.
Oh, nice. But actually, vodka and Mountain Dew is not bad.
Is it? I just don't like Mountain Dew. That's the thing.
Well, then that says a lot.
It's nectar of the tards.
Okay.
No. So it's 360 vodka. It's a superior American vodka. So I've got a little tonic with mine just to keep it a little lighter.
And I
don't like vodka.
As always.
You You are on the rocks.
And I'm an alcoholic, so I'll drink whatever.
Our guest tonight.
I'm looking, as grumpy and pissy as I am.
Yes.
I've been looking for this episode. Amanda's been looking for this episode.
Good.
Believe it or not. So
good. So I hope everyone enjoys this. We have our guest tonight from the Tipsters True Crime Podcast, Melissa Morgan.
Hi, Melissa.
Hey, fellas.
Welcome to the show.
I thought if you're wearing hats, I should wear a hat.
Oh, yeah, like sure.
I like
it. Fine. I don't know if you have anything to drink in front of you, whether it's Mountain Dew or water or what, but there you go. Cheers with your unicorny sparkly cup.
Nectar of the Tarts. It's Mountain Dew
right.
Black Cherry, you fuckers.
Black cherry.
I was gonna say that's the kitchenware equivalent of a vape.
There you go.
Totally vape.
All
right. So true crime.
Well, first of all, I've got to admit something. I'm a pretty terrible host in the sense of I don't put a lot of effort into like research and stuff ahead of time as far as people, because I usually just like the conversation. But I did listen to like part of an episode yesterday, and it's good.
It's a very soothing voice to be talking about murder.
It's good.
It's a very soothing voice. So
I'll take that as a compliment.
But I also like the fact that she immediately called us fuckers.
I know
that's
nice.
Off to a great start already.
That's nice. You're a Kentucky transplant in California, right?
I am.
How's that working out?
I've lived in California more years than I did in Kentucky. So
okay. So you're Californian now, then I guess.
No, I'm still a Kentuckian.
Oh, okay.
Where in Kentucky were you from originally?
Northern Kentucky, just across the river from Cincinnati in Independence, Kentucky.
Okay. Okay. Not as cool as West Virginia, but you know.
No, I'm not a wonderful white of West Virginia. I'm a mediocre.
That's a great documentary.
It's a great documentary. I'm a beige, I'm a pinky beige person from Northern Kentucky.
Okay.
Have you ever watched The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia?
It's been on my list to watch for forever.
It's so good.
But you know how I am with documentaries.
I know.
I like documentaries, but only what?
You gotta.
Okay.
You gotta you gotta watch it.
Yeah, you love watching train wrecks, and this is just a nonstop train wreck.
Absolutely.
It's produced by Johnny Knoxville, so you know it's interesting.
Yeah, no, I know all these things.
Okay.
Like I said, it's been on my list, but like I think you should leave season 2 came out, which is
my god. All right, fine.
I'm saying I usually don't. I don't know. It's yeah. If it's one of those things, if I have an excessive amount of time, I'll usually watch documentaries. But a lot of times if it's like at home at the end of the workday or some shit, I just want to watch something I don't fucking have to think about. So
gotcha. Okay.
Like there's this show on Netflix now called Sexy Beasts. It is awful. It is one of the worst things I've ever watched. And I binged every episode of it. It's like it's a train wreck you can't walk away from. The concept is you have these people going on blind dates and they want to fall in love based on personality. So they wear these over the top like makeup, like prosthetics and shit. And they're shallow pieces of shit that it's fucking wonderful. It's so good.
May have to check that out.
Yeah. And I feel like a garbage person for watching it, but I prioritize that over things that would probably benefit me to watch, like the documentary you guys are talking about.
I don't know that you'll benefit from it except for just the enjoyment of the train wreck of this family.
No, I enjoy that shit. Like I like learning about stuff usually. Yeah. Anyway.
It's a crime that you haven't watched it.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a true crime that you haven't watched it.
It's a crime that I'm here on a Saturday night. So.
Yeah, for almost 2 years now.
I know.
So, your show title, Just the Tipsters.
Yes.
It's interesting to me because someone months ago on Facebook in one of the podcast groups was trying to come up with a title of their podcast, and I know it wasn't you because you've been doing the podcast longer than when this request was made.
Like 200 something episodes, right?
It's a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
And it's just, it goes to show just how much unsolved crime there is in this country. So much. But someone requested help on a podcast, and I can't remember what it was going to be about, but I had recommended Just the Tip to them, and they didn't like it because they thought that was too vulgar. But so when I first saw the name of your podcast, I was like, is this the person I recommended you? So then I went to your episode listening. Oh no, it's not this person. No, Melissa knows what she's doing.
I'm a 12-year-old boy in an old lady body, and that is the disembodied arm that is my husband.
Yep. I saw that.
I'm finding this very erotic, actually.
You and me both, brother. As he just tripped over a cord.
Or his pants. Well, if his pants are too, it might not be a cord he tripped over.
Yeah. So, it started as a joke because I'm a 12-year-old boy trapped in an old lady body, and I thought just the Tip-sters was funny because I was looking for people to call in to give tips, but I'm also a 12-year-old boy. So I really didn't look very long for names. It just kind of came to me, and I was like, we're running with it. And here we are.
That's good.
What drew you to true crime?
I think people that are interested in true crime have been interested in true crime their whole lives. I was a weird kid, read Helter Skelter way too young, probably like 12 years old. Fascinated by Charles Manson, who never killed anyone, but still fascinating.
Yeah.
Started getting my hands on all kinds of true crime books. The prosecutor that prosecuted him, Charles Manson, is Vincent Bugliosi, and he's a really good writer, and he's written some really interesting books. So that was sort of like my, introduction to that. And then, of course, like all of the weirdos who like stuff like I do, Forensic Files and Unsolved Mysteries and TV shows that came on that, you waited for every week. Like, this is going to be amazing. I can't wait.
So Unsolved Mysteries, obviously one of the greatest shows that was ever made back in the day.
Just scared the shit out of me when I was young.
Love it so much. Yeah. So what do I want to know, and not to derail off of like talking about her podcast, but like, what do you think of the new Unsolved Mysteries? The revamped one.
Yeah. In some ways it is better because it's modernized as far as, technologically, getting film clips and reenactments, but it's lost a lot of the sort of authentic appeal that the original one had, in my opinion.
Well, and then Robert fucking Stack, man. I mean, you
There's
take that away. It's just sad. Like, I would have been fine with a completely CGI'd version and a voiceover artist that sounded a lot like him. I would have preferred that. Like
a holographic Tupac Shakur and Robert Stack just like co-hosting. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. I feel like that, and then they tried to kind of implement the old music that kind of blended it in there, but just the general like shit your pants vibe when you think that you felt when you were a kid watching it.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
This guy got murdered, and that town's like three states away. I could be murdered just like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is my. It's not really my theory, I guess I should say. So we spoke earlier for a moment, and then we cut the conversation to discuss it here. But women are very drawn to, at least most of the women that I know anyway, are very drawn to true crime. Why?
Because they're the ones that typically get killed.
Yeah,
that's part of my theory. Is like
that. I think your theory is right.
Yeah, they're learning where the other people went wrong so that they don't.
Okay.
I think there's definitely, I think there's definitely some, lessons to be learned. Some, that you can like, oh, I'm not going to walk to my car without my keys between my fingers. Maybe I should invest in, bear spray. Don't go jogging by yourself in a sports bra, even though you should be entitled to. Don't do it. Yep. Regular stuff like that. Sure.
No, I agree. Actually, along those lines, Amanda and I have this, like, we talk about this regularly as far as a lot of like modern culture and shit that, something that you don't have a lot of. And because it's fought against, we shouldn't have to have self-awareness. I was like, you shouldn't, but you do, you know, because there's, and there's, and that guy's across the board, more so for women, unfortunately, but like there's areas I'm not going to walk through with fucking a brand new fucking pair of Jordans by myself at 2:00 in the morning because shit's going to get my fucking ass beat. That's just how it is.
There you go.
But yeah.
Where are you walking that Jordans are going to get your ass beat?
Downtown goddamn Memphis. I'll tell you that right now.
Why are you walking around downtown Memphis?
I'm just saying, if I was going to a show, say, hey, there's a great blues show and it's fucking middle of the night in Memphis, there are certain things that I would consciously not wear, and I probably would go without somebody because it's common fucking sense.
Okay.
That's my point. We're trying to stir the pot, Joey.
I understand.
Is Beale Street kind of known for like Jordan thefts or
No. Beale Street's not at all. Beale Street's pretty okay. They've cleaned that shit up a lot. But I'm just saying there's very crime-filled areas that, like, again, just knowing your, like, I could do that shit and walk into a redneck fucking bar and I'm not going to have any issues.
If you're wearing fresh Jordans and you walk into a redneck bar, you might have some issues.
Not without the pop.
You're going to have issues, but they're not going to steal your shoes.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to be walking funny.
Take you out back and fuck you.
Yeah. You're going to leave with a Budweiser bottle in your rectum, probably. But
yeah, well, maybe that was a shitty example overall, but as a whole, what I'm talking about is self-awareness for situations.
I got you. Everyone should, you shouldn't have to, but you do, and so you should have some self-awareness.
Anyway,
so,
but I like that theory. That's a good theory. I also think that just humans in general have an innate curiosity in, like, the morbid and the macabre and things like that. And I feel like that it's a lot of times less appropriate viewed that way for a lot of women to like and really be into that. And so this is like a safe space to have to express that interest without it being like, oh, you're just into like fucking torture porn and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think you're exactly right. I think it's common. I think it's in a lot of our natures that we want to try and, solve a puzzle.
Yeah. I think it's the puzzle solving and also that understanding, like that thought of that there's people out there that don't actually care about what's normal in society and about what's going on, and like how can those people exist. So it's like this thrilling fear, like all these things mixed together, because 99% of people, and there's a lot of murders that happen just because people are assholes or selfish or whatever, but then you have those peoples like Ted Bundy that there's obviously, like, they're so far outside of understanding of how people are supposed to be. It's a fascination, like how can someone be that way? And it's multifaceted for sure, but
social contract,
right?
So the other part of my pseudo theory is that women tend to be much more in touch with their emotions than men, for the most part, not all, but I think it's much easier for
relating
people
with
producing, relating with the victims, yes, but also people that produce these shows, especially when you see like promos for a show or whatever, and like it was a small town that could happen anywhere in America, and then and women are like, I live anywhere in America. So I think that could be a little bit. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I think that's aside. Add that on top of women tend to be the ones that are being murdered
with the victims, and
I think so for sure.
Anyway, but I know it covers the gambit. You don't just do like one specific murder type. I mean, you cover a lot of different things. But
there's the theory. If you ever watched Homicide Hunter, Lieutenant Joe Kenda from Colorado Springs had like 400 homicides in his career, and he solved 392 of them, which is like a 98%.
That's impressive. Sure.
Yeah, very impressive. And he believes, and I think it's right because I've really tried to break it down. He believes there's 3 reasons why people kill: sex, money, or revenge. And I was like, oh no, he's full of shit. There's got to be a lot more reason. Not really.
No. Because most serial killers have some really weird sexual deviancies. That's what they're
exactly right.
Issues and stuff. Yeah.
Not Dexter.
He has a code, God damn it.
I know,
which is a skewed form of revenge.
It is.
Well, it probably was sexually based, but yeah, I got you. No, I mean that's pretty fascinating to me. Like when they examined Ted Bundy's brain, there's a couple of documentaries I'm not really fond of that try and break down the mental and physiological part of why serial killers kill. And serials are just not that fascinating to me. What's fascinating to me is the person who kills maybe once and never does it again, or maybe twice and thinks they can get away with it. I don't know. I mean, there's definitely things that are fascinating, but Ted Bundy's brain didn't show a lot of damage.
Right.
There wasn't, a really good excuse for why he did what he did.
Right.
Which is frightening and interesting at the same time.
Yeah.
Do you think he's just born that way? Is he born psychopath?
That is a great question, because I have changed my mind and I flip-flop. Sometimes I think people are born that way, and sometimes I think it's, it's nature versus nurture. I don't know if it's, if there are definitely people in the psychological world who feel that serial killers are made, they're not born. And then there are, like a lot of, trauma as a child and abuse and stuff. And I'm thinking, who the fuck hasn't had trauma? You don't turn around and kill people because, being a human being is traumatic. The human journey is fucking traumatic, but we don't all go kill people because we've had a bad Tuesday. Right. It's fucking bullshit. So I don't like that theory at all, but I think there's just no black or white. I think it's a lot of gray, unfortunately.
It's always layered. Well, I feel like too, and just from the little I've read on it, because it fascinates me, is there's also a distinct difference between sociopaths and psychopaths. Right?
Absolutely.
As far as not necessarily the in expression of it, but the buildup and the process.
Absolutely.
There, and what I've read, and a lot of the more popular opinions, like you've read, is a lot of times sociopath or it's like you said, nature versus nurture. Like psychopath is more of a nature, like that's just there, and psychopaths can kind of develop, and maybe or sociopaths kind of develop thing. And maybe I have that flip flopped. I don't fucking know, but
I don't know all of it. My wife and I were talking about this earlier today. Some friends of ours that do a radio show in the UK, this is their question tomorrow on the show is, are criminals born, or are they, or is it nature or nurture? Are bad people born, or are they made? And one will argue one point, one will argue the other. So I asked my wife. My wife used to be in the education system, and she was a behavior analyst. And so we got to talking about that, and she argued both sides of it. And one of the things she said was like, sure, you can be a born psychopath, but there are plenty of born psychopaths that never make wrong choices that turn into crime or anything like that. So it's still, like you said, a lot of gray area there. That what causes that choice?
Yeah. Well, I think so. Like you said, those the things that it boils down to, and then whatever type of way they learn to disassociate or associate behaviors with how they think. Like I recently got a little like I basically got a diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, which is psychopathy, like psychopath, because I have this incredible, like I don't have guilt, I don't have empathy. I'm a
psychopath or sociopath.
Sociopath.
Okay,
just antisocial personality disorder. So it's a large separation there, but like I recognize how the world needs to work and like how fucking things need to be in place, and those and two, the trouble that you have to deal with to keep from. I can do what I want and go to fucking prison forever, or I can do some of what I want and never have to deal with the hassle of getting, giant dicks in my butthole in the shower. So, it's pro versus con. It's not that I'm not capable of doing those things. It's just that I can make the conscious decision not to.
Yeah.
But some of that's my raising and where I came from and all of those things. But I don't know. It's interesting to me.
You said a whole lot just to agree with us that it's a lot of gray.
Yeah, no, I was just saying there's a lot of gray, but it was to her point, or to your point, that you can grow up and not make those decisions. A lot of it, I think, like I said, maybe you're born that way, but then the upbringing that you have can reinforce the not murder versus the murder. Because a lot of psychopaths, they're fucking murdering animals and shit when they're kids, and starts out with all kinds of weird shit like that. Anyway, it's all interesting is my fucking point, Joey.
Okay.
So there was murder you. The McDonald triad, which they have largely discounted, and I still hold on to it. It's like animal torture, bedwetting, and I honestly don't remember the third one, but I was fire starting. And when I was a kid, I wet the bed, and I loved lighting matches and just watching them burn. I wouldn't hurt a bug if you paid me. I would cry. So I'm like two-thirds of the McDonald triad. But I've never killed anyone that you know of.
Right.
You just need that hamburger.
Well, I did read a thing, and I'm sure, I don't know if you read the statistics or not, but the usual, at least what's known, is it's a disproportionate amount of serial killers that are men versus women.
Sure.
And I read this thing, this guy was saying that that's not true. Women are just much, much better at not getting caught because they don't feel the need to have the bravado of showing off or having the trophies and shit like that.
Yeah,
that's
but
bullshit.
They don't have to get caught for us to. They don't.
I know. I've read it. That's why I don't know.
I think it's bullshit too, because you don't have to get caught to know that there's a serial killer out there.
Yeah. Well, you can. It depends on how you pick victims, how you spread out. Like there's sometimes it takes years for them to figure out there's a serial killer. They do eventually, but
sometimes.
But if you kill 7 people in 10 years and they're random and it's completely different, and then you just stop, not that you can, I'm just saying, like in that example, you're a serial killer, but fucking nobody ever finds out. Just saying.
The idea of randomness is also a small percentage. Even what looks random, a person that kills multiple people, there will be a connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
It may take a long time to, uncover that. And it may take someone extremely smart, like a behavioral analyst or, a really sharp detective to figure out the connection, but there will typically be a connection. The total random, like, I'm guessing you guys are too young, but there was a film with Michael Rooker called Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. And it was shot documentary style, but it was a film, and it was sort of based on Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole. And it's one of the more awful, violent things you'll ever see because of the randomness.
Right.
Just, pretending to be like from the gas company and breaking into people's homes, pushing your way in, raping and murdering the parents in front of the kids. I mean, just it's awful. The most awful. I literally watched it like this. I mean, it's just, it's terrible. But that blessedly is a small percentage.
Yeah. No, that's all that shit's super fascinating me, as is for, like, it's not just me that's fascinated by it, or otherwise it wouldn't be such a big genre. But
yeah.
But most of my fascination with it is with the psychological side, the motivation behind
Me
it,
too.
what creates like that super, like, the crimes are fucking whatever. Like, people are going to do shitty things. People that aren't serial killers do shitty things depending on the motivation and the rage level and all that stuff. But the people that want to do it, or they don't want to, that are driven to do it, on for whatever reason, like, that shit's fucking fascinating as fuck.
Sex, money, and revenge. Those are the things that I try and, I stay awake at night trying to figure out. We've done, I guess, like 201, 202 episodes. And, when I started this, I only wanted to cover cases that had been solved because I don't like unsolved cases. I love everything wrapped up with a bow. I want to know there's an end, and I want to know someone got in trouble. And then listeners kept saying, would you consider covering this case? I happen to have a personal tie to this case, and I started covering cases that are unsolved, and they keep me up at night, but they also propel me to keep going. And the name Just the Tipsters became prophetic as people started calling detectives with what they call unique information that only someone intimately involved would know.
Right. And that's actually what I was one of the things I was gonna bring up. So it's a good segue to that. When we were originally scheduling to be on, and you had something that came up because you were actively involved. And I know you probably can't, discuss or go into it too much, but that's an amazing to me that a fucking podcast is actually
what was are they
considerably involved?
Peterson or Stevenson? I can't remember the last name.
Yeah, I would love to talk about it if that's okay.
Oh no, go for
please.
it. Yeah, go for it.
So I had gotten a message from Joey in the middle of June, and I'm like, look, I'm sorry, I'm on my way back to Kentucky. And I was home for just a short trip, really. But I was interviewed on Good Morning Cincinnati. Are you jealous? And
they wouldn't let us on.
I had interviewed the lead detective on a 10-year-old, at the time 9-year-old, but now 10-year-old double homicide. And one of the ones I think Stephen would find fascinating, because it's probably someone who's only done this one time. He killed 2 elderly people in their home. I say he, but I don't know for sure, but pretty sure it's a he. And staged the bodies, staged them in very odd ways, covered them in garbage and religious icons. A lot of really weird shit. Yeah. It's a puzzling, troubling case. 2 people that gave so much to the community, like, I mean, really gave so much to the community. It's still the most puzzling, odd thing I've ever seen. And the lead detective said, I won't retire until this one is solved. And he's had a career, and he deserves to be able to retire. So what had happened was someone listened to the podcast and called and said, you know what, this was kind of an odd thing, and someone did this right after, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but I'm wondering. And the person came back. The person had called the tipster a few days after the double homicide and said, I'm leaving town and I won't be able to call you anymore. I have to go underground.
Oh,
and
shit.
She was like, oh, okay. She didn't really, she was like, I don't know. All right. And he ironically ended up living like out of a truck, I guess, and had a P.O. box in California where I am, which is really weird, and went back home a few months ago to Kentucky for a family event. And this person contacted the police again and said, he's here. And they showed up and took his DNA and questioned him. And the detective said they weren't exactly sure that he was the one, but he was behaving oddly, and they're really glad they got, the DNA sample. So, which is awful in that the labs are so backed up, it may be a year before that DNA sample is tested. But yeah, I can't tell you. It's interesting to me when people message me and say, you know what, I heard this, I saw this, and I'm like, please send it right to the detective. Don't tell me, tell them. I'm not solving this case. They are. I'm just a big mouth bitch with a microphone. So call the detective. So yeah, but it's kind of amazing.
No, that's really fucking cool, actually.
Yeah.
What people actually do things with their podcast.
I
know. No, you're right. There are a few of those people too that think that their podcasts solve cases, and they couldn't be more wrong. Law enforcement solve cases. We just fucking talk about them, which is a nice tool. I think podcasts are like anything else, like social media or anything else. It's a great tool.
Can be.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
can be.
Yeah.
The community around podcasts and online and things like that really can do a lot to help.
You're right.
Solve. I mean, you look at that docuseries, "Don't Fuck with Cats."
Don't fuck with cats. Exactly.
Community did so much to help.
That one's kind of a little bullshit, though.
What's bullshit about it?
What's that?
What's bullshit about it?
It's not that I have the issue with community coming together to solve crimes, but when it comes with like mob justice, vengeance mentality, I'm not on board. I don't care why the fuck they do.
Why would you consider that mob justice for a guy that's killing somebody?
It wasn't anyway,
but he did. They were trying.
Nobody left their home to track him down. They did it behind the screen of their computer.
I know. I'm just saying.
It's not what you're saying it is, though.
What's that?
I mean, I guess technically, yes, it's mob justice, but it's a good instance of it. Maybe the guy killed somebody.
Okay.
Okay. How is that not good?
I'm just saying. You
have a lot of things that you're just saying.
Run through the streets of Canada with like torches and pitchforks, Stephen. What the fuck are you talking about?
I know.
They sat behind their computers and looked at pictures that this fuckface put up and said, that sign looks like a Shell station. This looks like a sign in a certain part of Canada. I think he's overseas. I mean, come on. That's an amazing thing.
To defend your mob justice.
I'm not going to defend it.
Okay.
Because I don't want to.
Because
you're fired. You're fired.
It's a conceptual aggression, not a practical one. And that's
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes more sense.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Because here's the thing. I'm going to be able to lay out what my opinion is, but you're going to fucking shoot the fuck down, and I'm going to end up backtracking and retorting because I don't feel like I'm going to be able to explain myself well, and I know how this game goes, and I'm not fucking playing it tonight.
It's not a game.
That's the game that you and I play. We get into an argument. I say some shit. Because I'm not eloquent when it comes to just for some reason on this podcast.
You do a lot of ready shoot aim as well.
Exactly. So, and I'm just saying, I'm not playing it tonight. Not playing tonight because we have another very smart motherfucker on the phone tonight, and I'm not playing the game. So that's what
you're maturing. Good for you,
boys. Really?
What?
No fight.
Oh, this is every fucking week.
Yeah.
Almost every time you make asinine statements really quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
But again, what I'll say is like, well, mob justice isn't the term that best fits this. I'm like, oh, well, what is the best term? And then it just goes on and on and on.
Internet sleuths. Call them cyber sleuths. Call them whatever you want. But I don't find mob to be a great term. No.
Right.
Exactly. Right. And I think part of the issue, though, that I take with it, too, is it becoming a Netflix fucking special. Like, that's the type of shit that annoys me about it.
Jealousy?
No.
Oh, now we get to it. Okay.
No. So... Sex, money, revenge.
Which is ironic because I'm all about exploitation of fucking whatever you want to make money. But
I know.
Yeah, you seem like that kind of guy, like a capitalist a little bit.
I think I'm not even a capitalist. I just fucking think nothing's sacred. But
that's
anyway.
true. Yes.
Yeah.
So sex, money, revenge. Which one of those is number one? What happens more, in your opinion, or maybe factually? I mean,
80% of homicides are committed by someone who knows the victim. My guess is that a large part of it is money or revenge. I think sex, unless you are a sexually motivated killer, if you're killing someone because you're a rapist and a murderer, most rapists start off as rapists and then become murderers because they don't want to, be told on. But I would say money and revenge are the two. It's mostly money. I mean, most people that are killed by someone who knows them, whether it's an inheritance, an insurance policy. You're mad at someone, you push them, they hit their head on the fireplace. That's the one I always use as an example. It's like, you get in a fight with someone and it goes too far and shit happens. But if you are sitting there and planning it out and plotting it, that's something different. Everyone can imagine themselves in a situation in the heat of the moment where someone, it goes too far and someone's life ends and you didn't mean for that to happen. And so you either say, hey, it was an accident and this happened, or you bury the body or you try and hide it. But the plotting, the, figuring it out, the, testing your different weapons, whatever, that's the kind of thing that fascinates me. It's like, who does this and why? And there's actually a really great book I think Stephen should read. It's by a psychologist. I think it's called The Psychopath Inside. And he was a doctor. He's a neurologist. Dr. James, and I can't remember his last name. He's taught for 40 something years at the University of Irvine. And he has worked on neurology and brain patterns for his whole career and ended up doing a double-blind study with some brain MRIs or brainwave tests of psychopaths, and included his own and 10 family members in this double-blind study. And the results came back and they said, well, one person in your family is a psychopath. And he's like, who? And they're like, well, we're not telling you, it was a double-blind study. And he's like, no, you're going to tell me. And they're like, well, it's you.
Yeah.
And he looked back at his life and thought, what? I have spent my career studying the brain of psychopaths and trying to keep them from being violent. And then he's like, you know what? I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
I play Candyland with my grandkids and I beat their ass. And I'm happy about it. It's a competitive thing. You just proved you are the wonderful psychopath inside with your fight with Joey. Sorry.
Yeah. But unless it's a triple blind study, I don't give a shit about it.
Because you don't give a shit because you're a psychopath. Yeah.
Right. No, it's part of that though, that diagnosis. So I was medically discharged from whatever back in the day because I got a bipolar diagnosis, which is an accurate one. And then I was like, okay, this makes sense. And then when they tacked on the antisocial, I was like, oh, now it like that fills in the little gaps that I couldn't explain along the way. And I'm like,
perfect.
Which actually but embracing it. And I told, and we've talked about this some, but like I'm very, very good at mimicking situational, because I've had to do it my whole life because I don't fit in, right? So I'm like, okay, these people, this is what it is. So I can read people really fucking fast and trust, and I can manipulate the shit out of people. But I try not to do these things because again, it's like that whole inflated sense of justice that the world's a shitty fucking place. And so if everybody can have this baseline of like respect or whatever, then the world is less fucking shitty for everybody. It's not because I give a fuck about you, but it's because if I'm a dick to you all the time, you're going to be a dick to me, and that's going to be like inconvenient for me to deal with when we're around each other. So that's the general mindset of how things play out for me, except for you.
Whatever your motivation is, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Anyway, I find it. So anyway, the shit fascinates the fuck out of me. But I mean, again, I say that, but I don't do any research or read or whatever on this stuff. I'm busy reading about other shit when I do read.
Like what?
What's that?
Like what?
Just like stuff for work.
I gotcha.
Technology bullshit. But that actually, I was gonna say I have I say friend. That's the wrong word to use. A kid that I knew, and we kind of became friends in the army. His mom was fucking. It was in Pensacola, Florida, or outside of Pensacola, Florida, and she was fucking murdered by a fucking serial killer. Like they found her decapitated in the woods, like a few months later, and they caught the guy. And I think the guy only had like 4 or 5 victims, which I guess is enough. And I can't remember the name, but that was the whole thing. Like I found out about this and I just wanted to ask him so many questions, but I was like, I probably can't do that. So I was doing some reading on it. It's insane to me. This guy was basically kind of like there's a dude like they call him like the national parks or whatever, this fucking years ago, but it kind of along that, like he essentially would just walk, had his little dog, and when he would ran across certain people, he'd be like, yeah, I'm fucking gonna kill them, and he would usually rob them. Like that was basic, but then he would tie them up and they'd be different levels of torture, nothing like what you hear about like with BTK or any of, not to that extreme, but mostly just kind of held hostage for a few days, maybe raped, maybe not, but all their shit stolen and then on to the next. And it was a very odd thing. And like I said, he didn't have if he wasn't very good at concealing his,
sure,
because he got caught because he kept going to ATMs with the victim's credit cards or debit cards and just taking fucking money out. So I was like, you're not very good at it.
Right.
Or you could have probably at least hit 10.
That's how Israel Keys got caught. He violated his own rules, kind of the Dexter rules, like only do this and that'll keep you safe.
I listened to a podcast on Israel Keys the other day and I was like, holy shit. I'd never heard of the guy. It was fucking fascinating as shit.
It's interesting. I feel like the reason you haven't heard a lot is because I'm going to say this and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of investigators want to try and keep him especially under wraps because he is such an anomaly.
That's what I was going to say. He fell in such a unique category of serial killer.
Yep.
So you think they would keep him under wraps so that
copycats?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is it copycats or because it debunks some of the theories that investigators have?
No, I think your first theory is right, that they wanted to keep. I think we probably still don't know everything he did, but I think they wanted to keep a lot of what he did under wraps. They don't want someone else to replicate that.
Yeah, he was the one that fell in a legitimately almost a random type of deal.
Yes.
I mean, he had some patterns, but a lot of his shit did not make sense. Why he did what he did? It's fucking insane.
And he said, like, you don't always get the victims you want.
Yeah.
He raped and killed.
Right there.
He raped and killed an older couple, who were, how do I say this nicely? Not your average attractive young 20-year-old girl that, you know what I mean? And that was almost the end of him. The man escaped twice and he tracked him down and brought him back. And talk about luck. He left them in an abandoned house, maybe a mile from their house. And that house was later destroyed and like buried over. And he ended up, when he got caught, ended up telling him, this is where they are. And they would never have found them.
Yeah. Fucking weird, man.
Yeah.
So there's I'm not a big podcast guy. We do them, but I don't listen to podcasts ever, except there's one that I found that a guy that we know recommended, and it's called Time Suck with Dan Cummins. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but he occasionally does true crime, usually serial killers or cults, things like that. But he did one on Israel Keys, and that's when I was like, I'd never heard of it. And I was like, what the fuck? And I only listen when I go pick up the kids, not on the way back with them because, they're 10. But
yeah, he was. He was an anomaly. I mean, he was a successful contractor handyman in Alaska. You can probably still find Yelp reviews online. Like everyone who worked with him loved him and he did quality work. And he had a girlfriend and a daughter and he didn't want his daughter to know. He was also raised in a very strict religious background, sort of an offshoot of Mormonism. A lot of people think that kind of thing really can affect someone when they're young to become something, just the opposite of how you're raised. But he's a fascinating one, but also I get why I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about him either, because I don't want other people who may have, a stirring inside to hear that and think, oh, if I did this, it's going to be a lot, less easy for them to catch me.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there was some of that stuff, even not without just him, but without the randomization involved. It's just like, I feel like some serial killers are just way more fucking lucky than others in the sense
That's
of
the truth.
Because the decisions that they make sometimes are really shitty decisions, but the shittiness of them they're just fucking random enough that they don't make sense with everything that's been done. And so it's like, oh, so we think that they're okay, or vice versa. They're really stupid and they make another shitty decision. It's just this odd, like anything else in life. Like there's an element of skill, but there's an element of fucking luck.
Absolutely.
And good serial killers, for as shitty as it sounds, they're fucking skilled motherfuckers. For them, I mean, they're screwed up, but for what they do, the really smart ones, it's like a fucking talent.
Yeah.
Not to glorify what they do, but it really is. Like it's some of the planning and involvement that some of them go, not that all of them do, but the ones that are really meticulous that plan shit out, they're smart dudes.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, like there's respect for me in the brilliance of some of that. If that makes sense.
I get it. I get it. There are some that are very, very brilliant, but I feel like the more time that goes by, the more technology catches up to them. I mean, look at DNA now. You thought you were never going to get caught, leaving your DNA on a victim's body, and now you're fucked. There's, there's a group in, I think they're in Chicago, that tabulate the number of murders, the geography, the type of victims, and they have decided that there's probably 50 serial killers operating in the United States at any one time. And also the golden age of serials was the 80s.
Yeah.
The 70s and the 80s. And the number of serial killers have dropped off since then, whether they know they're going to get caught, whether there's, more, mental health issues that, they're available for them to get meds or get help or something. I think one of the things you were talking about, Stephen, is that, right from wrong. And sometimes you don't, care, but you also want things to be, smooth in your life. So you tend to lean toward doing the right thing.
Yeah, well, there's societally right and societally wrong. I mean, there's a very distinct difference, because I really do, in a large degree, believe in moral relativism, and what's right and wrong in one culture differs from that to the others. But if you want to live successfully and comfortably in one, you have to abide by
whatever
those things, right?
Yeah,
right.
I mean, there's usually some universally agreed upon things, and most of them are for the preservation of the species. Like murder is usually frowned upon because our society fucking crumbles if everybody's fucking killing each other.
Sure.
Theft is the same way. Like you don't steal from me, I don't steal from you, and we can share. But when we start taking shit, then that's going to cause other societal issues. Like most of them are based out of those. But there are some cultures, that pedophilia was a completely like normal part of everyday life, and we would say, no, that's fucking awful and that's terrible. And what we know now about like psychological damage, all this stuff, it absolutely is. But culturally in those times, like, I could have 3 or 4 like 10-year-old boys that bring me food, and then I just kind of bang them every now and then, but I'm totally not gay and I love my wife. It's this very weird acceptable thing that changes.
I need to market.
Please keep that soundbite. God damn it. But no, but that concept fascinates me like to no end, how like other than some baseline things, it's kind of observed throughout even species, in the hierarchy and how those things work. But as a whole, there are so many things that are so flexible depending on the society that they're in.
Yeah.
The one thing Israel Keys didn't want his mother to know is that he had raped men too.
Yeah. Yep.
The one thing, it's like, oh, it's okay if you've killed and raped young girls, but please, he said, my mother's going to have a heart attack. That's what he said.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's the same reason you've never come out to your wife. It's,
That's true.
Yeah. She knows what we do on the weekends, though.
She does.
After this podcast.
I think she's okay with it.
How could she not?
Right?
She's crying in the shower right now.
No. Well, both of our wives said at some points, like, if you guys ever ended up like, the only thing I'm concerned about that if we ever got divorced is because you and Steven are running off together. I'm like, that's probably an accurate fear to have.
That's what she said. If you ever left me, I know it would be for Steven.
I mean, look at your logo. You have like a string attached to your hearts.
Yeah. We do. Yes.
Yep.
Because we're the only one that can love each other unquestionably.
Unconditionally.
That's right. Unconditionally.
That's beautiful.
Right.
Yeah. Beautiful thing.
She is now like, why the fuck did I come on this show today?
Like 40 minutes ago, I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah. And we don't blame you at all.
No.
Do you know something shocking though? Out of all the various types of guests that we've never had one walk off.
No.
And I'm like legitimately surprised in that.
The night is young.
Right. Well, but we try, like, we talk how we talk and joke how we joke, but like we do believe in like respect for people. We had a flat earth guy on a few months ago. We had this whole episode talking about flat earth shit. And the conversation was great, but our general rule is like, unless our guest is just like an aggressive asshole, we're respectful as can be, because it's a conversation, and whether we think it's insane or not insane, that's irrelevant to the conversation, you know?
Yeah, that's what makes interesting hosts and interesting shows. You don't just have one mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Joey was just saying before this, man, I hate true crime podcasts. I think this is going to be
not
terrible
what I said. Actually, I listened to I listened to an episode earlier today that stood out to me because it had the word juggalos in the title of the episode. And I listened to that. You are really hard on this in general, hard on just juggalos.
You should
May I explain?
Absolutely. I want to. I want you to.
This,
for sure.
Here we go.
Fago, fuck the juggalos. Fago is delicious.
Yeah. I'm not an ICP or juggalo fan, and most juggalos I've ever met are insane. I don't think that most of them would kill anybody. No, that was not ICP.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. I'll make sure.
All right. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Why so hard on the juggalos?
So the episode you're speaking of was sent to me by someone who was an EMT and fireman, and who had found the young lady in the bathtub hacked up by, and she was a juggalo, and she had met, a guy. Huh?
I said juggalette.
Juggalette.
The women
sorry.
are juggalette.
I'm sorry. I don't know the lingo. I'm not hip like you two.
Go ahead. No, I'm just messing around.
Juggalina? Is she a juggalina?
No, juggalette.
Juggalette.
No, she's not south border. Oh. No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
And her friend group was juggalos and juggalettes, and yeah, and she ends up murdered, and all she wanted was a boyfriend. All she wanted was someone to love. Now, the reason I started this podcast is a man whose body is still missing in my area here, and I volunteered on the search for him. And his nephew is in the middle of his arraignment and trial now. I was there Thursday in court for him, and his nephew was a juggalo, and a sad juggalo. The juggalos didn't want him. So if the juggalos don't want you,
right. Oof.
So yeah, the whole family, that's awesome. That's great. The Insane Clown Posse, really bad band. Not, who cares? It's my opinion. Other people may think they're magnificent Mozart-like musicians. I don't
understand that at all.
Yeah, I don't either. So yeah, I'm not going to be easy on juggalos. Sorry. Not sorry.
It was just interesting because as I was listening, it was like all of a sudden you lumped every juggalo in the world in with these people that killed this girl, and I was like, wow, that's a harsh judgment on an entire group of people.
A lot of that shit with the juggalos, like a lot.
A lot of murder.
Yeah,
you think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if
a lot of death. I might not be able to back up murder, but a lot of death that's not necessarily expected.
I got you.
Yeah. It's a rough culture. Like they throw a lot of like family and community and shit.
Sure.
But there's a lot of rape and shit too. I mean, it's a rough fucking community. Yeah. Anyway,
so I'm with you.
You say you were in court for this case the other day that had happened in your area. Mm-hmm. Have you had the opportunity to interview any of the suspected or convicted killers?
Suspected, no. Convicted, we have had, I'll be honest, we've had a few people approach the podcast who want to be interviewed because they want to proclaim their innocence, including this week. I got a phone call from someone in San Quentin.
Wow.
Yeah, because what I had done, and I'm like, did I just open a can of fucking worms? But I covered a case that was just completely botched. And the officer who did the botching was an alcoholic who, showed up drunk to crime scenes. He is no longer an officer, but real big fuck up. And, they took him off as a homicide detective and put him on, and this broke my heart, domestic violence cases. And I was like, great. So he can't cover a homicide, but if somebody beats up their girlfriend or boyfriend, let him go handle it. That was just a nightmare. But early retirement. He's no longer on the Long Beach Police Department, which is the jurisdiction I'm talking about. And this person called me and said, someone sent me your podcast, and the lead detective on my case was the one you said botched this murder. And I want you to take a look at this. And I was like, oh, dude, everyone's innocent, right? Everyone in prison is innocent, right? But he said a few things that were interesting, and he's going to send me his entire case file. And I called a couple of detectives in Long Beach, and one of them said, you know what? I remember that case, and I think it was a gimme. I think he was picked up the next day wearing clothes with blood on it and carrying the murder weapon. And I'm like, okay, but we'll see what happens. So I have not interviewed. We interviewed someone who was in a prison in Northern California who also said he was innocent, but we didn't air the interview because I just got to be honest with you, I felt like he was full of shit.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to give him time. And I referred him to another podcast that, covers wrongful conviction. It's like, that's not what I do. That's not what we do here.
Sure.
I've had the opportunity to interview quite a few people in law enforcement who've covered cases that have been interesting to them, and some that are closed and some that are still open and they're needing help. And that's, what I think this kind of platform is great for.
No, it is. And I was going to actually say, not to, kiss your ass, but to me, it's cool to see. Yeah. Right. But there are so many podcasts, because really most podcasts are pretty self-masturbatory. Like, hey, look I have a podcast. I want to talk about what I want, but you don't see too many, at least outward. Let me say, maybe outwardly, but not legitimately, like doing something that's actually evolving into a helpful medium.
Yeah.
Like, because even though you might talk about topics that help people or make people feel better, essentially you're doing it for listens, you're doing it for sponsors, you're doing it for that. There's not a lot that have us, like, that's why we are like, I would love to give people life advice just because it's fucking terrible life advice. And this, it's all because,
sure,
do what I want. But to actually have something that's with a little bit of meaning and intent behind it is, in my opinion, a fairly rare thing to see in a podcast, like genuine desire, you know, not just lip service. So
I agree.
I respect that.
I appreciate that. I mean, but I'll tell you, I started this and I covered Will's case, the man who's still missing that we know is no longer with us, and his nephew, killed him. Before I started the podcast, I volunteered for 3 months searching for Will. And I don't like the out of doors at all.
Right.
I don't know if you can tell, I'm not real outdoorsy. And and I learned a lot. I learned to carry a large stick with me in case there are snakes and to push aside shrubs. I learned not to wear my Ugg boots, to wear better boots, because I didn't have any good boots, just Ugg boots. I learned that the body, if it's lying out of doors, when it decomposes, releases something called putrefaction that burns the ground. And so you're looking for an area of dirt that is black. And then
so cool. Sorry.
It's pretty fascinating shit. It burns the ground. And then depending on how long it's been since the person has been gone, missing, or is murdered, a large, stalks of grass will grow around or near the putrefaction because it's more fertilized with a dead person. I have found more goat bones than I know what to do with. If I had a dime for every time the searchers were like, put the goat femur down, Melissa, I would have like a whole bunch of money, because I was like, I found him. And it was a goat, apparently at some point, Southern California was overrun by goats, because I found a fuck lot of goat bones. But I've learned a lot, and I found out what people go through when searching, and it's difficult and agonizing and frustrating, and yet it feels like it's worth it because you want people to know someone cares.
Yeah, I would feel like it's probably is a roller coaster of emotions if you're emotionally invested into a case or whatever, to be searching and think you found something, whether it be a goat bone or whatever, and just to find out that it's a goat bone,
So weird.
And this is, no one can explain. It's something internal. If a case sticks with you, if something touches you in a way that I don't know. I didn't know Will. There's 250,000 people in our town in Santa Clarita. Not a lot of people get murdered here. People, die if they're homeless out from the elements, but not a lot of people get murdered. And if they are, it's usually someone who knew them, and it's something stupid like sex, money, or revenge. But something like this, where someone is, his wife comes home from work and his keys, his phone, his jacket, and his truck are still there and he's gone and there's some blood spatter on the wall. That's my nightmare. That's my, if I came home and producer Mark, my husband, were not here and all of his shit were here, you'd hear me screaming from here.
Yeah.
So that's why I volunteered, because his wife is living my nightmare and she still is.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah, that's that's I don't know. I don't know what to I mean, that's
Did I
it's
bring it
interesting.
down? Sorry.
No, it didn't bring it. It's just like my mind. I'm trying to wrap my mind around all of that, and it's slowing my thought process.
Wow, that's slow.
It is.
No, for me, it's funny because I tend to have two emotional extremes. Like her talking about the investigation roller coaster. My initial thought was like, I need to be really mad or really happy, because I'd be like, I didn't figure it out, or God damn it, fuck yeah, it was me. Like that would be my two extremes. And like with that situation, like if say that came in, I'd be just instantly fucking mad. I'm like, who the fuck had the audacity to come in my house and do this shit? I'm going to find you and it's going to be bad. Like there's no sense of justice. Well, it's in my own sense of justice, but
and then when you find out it's your nephew,
I fucking kill my nephew. That's like easy peasy. Oh, you mean that's missing, not the
no. The husband's missing. The nephew's convicted.
Oh yeah,
the nephew. Yep.
Yeah, police don't find him.
Yeah.
The nephew who was a juggalo that nobody wanted.
Yeah. Well, because then I have a justifiable reason, not necessarily by law, but for me, I get to take a life. So, well, that's my thing. Like one of my biggest, and fear's not the right word, but for one of the kids, if something happened, is for them to suffer for an extended period of time, because suffering is fucking awful. Like that's the worst thing to me, especially if you're scared and you're a kid. Like that's why shit, like people that do shit to kids, like I have way less like whatever. Like that's like it's rage, but for me it's rage or it's indifference. Like those are the kind of the two things there.
Yeah.
No, like to me, like if somebody gets killed because like he's banging some dude's wife and the dude finds out and he comes back and kills him, like I have no sympathy. I'm like, well, fuck that guy. Like life's taken, but I kind of had it coming. That's how I viewed some of those things. But it's the shit that's done out of just the desire to make someone suffer. Like that's some shitty shit right there, man.
It is. It's not for me though. The scariest thing is people that just there was a time period where people were just randomly walking up to people and just bashing them on the head with a pipe and then running off, or a hammer or whatever. And that random act of violence for no reason at all, that to me is the scariest thing. Like I get why you would kill somebody for revenge, for money, sex. I understand that it's wrong, and I think it's I agree that that's wrong, but just the whole random, I'm just going to hit this old person over the head with a pipe and then I'm going to run off. I'm not even rolling them. I'm not taking their wallet or anything. It's just this fun little thing we do. Think it's scary. We've graduated from mailboxes to heads. It is, but to me, that's the scariest thing. How do you defend against that? You don't really.
Situational awareness. And I'm not saying you can't. No, I don't mean that all the time. It's different when it's an old person, but whatever. But and you can't control. I think that's why it doesn't bother me, because there's no control. It's not like.
Well, that's why it's so scary.
I don't think that makes it scary. It just makes it out of control, which like not having control doesn't scare me.
Got you.
Yeah.
So anyway. what case or what episode that you
like? Her face is fucking wonderful in this whole thing.
What case or what episode are you most proud of?
Oh this man. One? Yeah, this one.
Yeah. Good answer.
As we murder each other in front of you on this podcast.
Oh man, don't do that. I wish I had one, but I don't have a favorite. It's like picking your favorite kid. No.
Do you have any
that's easy as my daughter?
Yeah, right. Do you have any that you're more emotionally attached to? Like they're more meaningful.
Probably Will and the nephew.
Well, yeah. There's two. That's exactly right, Joey. I've done, I guess 3 maybe episodes about Will. We did one the first year. We've been doing this 3.5 years, and then I did like on the anniversary updates. And I will tell you why I'm a little bit more tied to that one, because I'm going to take a little credit for his nephew being arrested. It had been 3 years, and last February, my husband and I got this wonderful opportunity to take a tour of the LA County Sheriff's Department Homicide Bureau, and it's the largest homicide bureau in the country. And while we were there, I'd wanted to talk to the detective handling Will's case because he had gotten distracted because he had been reassigned to look into the Natalie Wood case. So who's he going to look at more, the Natalie Wood case or a 58-year-old missing man? Right. So I was pissed, and I felt like Will's case had dropped through the cracks 3 years later. We all knew Daniel did it. Fucking do something. Right. So the detective who was taking us on a tour, I said, "Hey, is Detective Hernandez here?" And he was like, "Oh, do you know him?" I was like, "Well, no, I've talked to him about Will's case, and I think he let stuff, fall through the cracks." And he said, "Do you want me to take a look at it?" And I burst into tears. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, this is important to you." And I'm like, "Fuck yeah." And I'll be goddamned if he didn't sit down with the team and say, "She's right. It's solvable the way it is." And 5 days later, they were turning over Will and Linda's house, and they ended up arresting Daniel and his father, who probably helped him. And I texted him and said, "I don't know what you did, but I fucking love you." And he wasn't going to drop the thin blue line. And he said, "Now, wait a minute. They were working on this case the whole time." And I texted back, "Bullshit." And he texted back, "You're welcome." So he finally dropped it and let me know. He talked to the team, and he kicked ass and took names, and they got their shit together, and they fucking arrested Daniel.
Right. Well, can I say with sincerity, like, that's huge. And I like seeing people getting fucking victories, and like, congrats on that. That's a big goddamn deal. It legitimately is.
It's not a big deal because they did it, but I cried hard enough.
It's a fucking big deal.
Somebody, that's how I feel like this is a very important thing. And I pray to God, none of us ever have to use this. But if someone someone you love ends up being murdered and people aren't paying attention and no one's solving it, you got to be an advocate. Yeah. You got to fucking just get in there, and you got to be the person to call them every week or go and cry like I did. Right. I mean, Will's wife, Linda, is tiny and pounded on the counter at the sheriff's department and said, "Get here now and look at this blood spatter." Because they said, "What if he walked away from his life? What if he's in Costa Rica? Call us when you find a body."
Jesus.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess, like, for me, I like the fact that when, like, I like justice, and I like when at least things are done. And it's so rare to find somebody that truly gives a shit and is willing to, like, if you're really invested in something, and getting blown off might be the wrong word in this scenario, but when you have somebody that comes back that essentially, like, justifies or shows enough fucking self decency to be like, "Hey, there's something here," and it affirms the shit that you've been pushing for, that's a big goddamn deal, just on a human level, outside of a case, outside of the legality. Like, it's have somebody like take your side is a big fucking deal, and especially if that's something been advocating.
He's one of my heroes. He is a cold case detective, and he is one of my heroes, and I am grateful to him forever, and he knows it.
Yeah, those are those motherfuckers that are thankless as shit. Like, say what you want about a lot of fucking cops, like, a lot of them fucking suck, but the cold case guys that are legitimately working hard to solve this shit that people have given up on, like, that's a whole different level of frustration in a job that I couldn't fucking fathom. Like, it's one thing, like, "Oh, I'm not getting this out the door in time, I'm gonna get bitched at," whatever. But when you're spending day to day trying to fucking solve shit that all these people are still grieving, still hurting over, that people have giving up hope on ever solving, and you're just dead end after dead end. That's a fucking hard job, man.
Oh yeah.
But the wins, I think, are sweet. And he's had a whole lot of wins, and I think that's what keeps him going. He loves it. He's not a young man. A lot of cold case detectives have retired and are brought back because of their skill level or their experience, and I mean, he loves what he does, and he's hilarious when, a tip comes in and I text him. I like to tell him about the wins, and I say, "Hey, guess what? A viable tip came in on this case." And you know what he says? "Great. Now, do you know what your prize is? You move on to the next one."
Yeah.
He's like a dad.
No. Well, but I mean, whether it started that way or that's something that you've paved the way for, you're now in a consistent place of, maybe not every week, but you're actually involved in a positive way in forwarding and moving some of these things along. And that's something not many people can say about their fucking podcast. Like the best thing that we can say is, hey, we had a cool conversation with this guy in TV that said, hey, nobody usually asks me about getting punched in the butthole. So, thanks guys. This was fun. That's as far as we get.
That's
so
important. That's very important information.
Well, depending on who comes on, like I have a 10-year-old and I don't let him listen, but I'll let him call in if it's some type of celebrity guest that we had, like the show Forged in Fire, one of the guests on them. And Jude was like, he loves that show. And he's like, oh, I want to ask him a question. I was like, okay. And so I don't ask him ahead of time. So I'll let him call in. And he was like, hey, like I have 2 questions. Will you make me some ninja stars? And have you ever been punched in the butthole? And that's, I was like, all right. And the guests love it, but I'm like, that's about as meaningful.
I don't
as
think they love it.
Maybe
they do.
Funny.
Yeah, I'm sure they think it's funny.
But regardless, anyway, I have a lot of respect for what you do, is what I'm saying, and I don't respect many people, but that's
true. You don't.
I don't.
Well, that's very kind of you.
You have to be
meaning people that are genuine and doing
saying.
something out of a genuine desire is way different than most people that do things for some type of recognition and self-worth or self gratification.
Sure.
This is completely self-gratifying for us. That's all this is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you.
No, and most people are. So I have respect for people that do it for other. Granted,
what I was going to say is you have to be Will's wife's favorite person in the world, probably.
I don't think so. She's very quiet and very private. I think she has sent me a few emails. I think she's grateful for. I mean, I don't. I'm not doing anything. I'm telling you, I'm a bitch with a big mouth and a microphone. The people that do the stuff, the boots on the ground, are the people in law enforcement. And I think some of them were not her favorite people for a while. And I get that. And I think I can tell you who I think one of her favorite people is now. And that's the DA, who is a phenomenal ass kicker. This woman, I could not be more grateful. She's the one prosecuting Daniel, because he has had 3 attorneys in the year that he has been arrested, and she kicks them all right square in the ass. She punches them in the butthole, Stephen.
That's awesome.
She does.
I dig that. Like I do. Like I have a lot of respect for that type of shit. But
yeah.
And again, like I know you look at yourself as stupid as is, a conduit, so to speak, like an avenue to a tool, and I think that's fucking awesome. And and again, I get that you're not necessarily out doing the investigations, but you're offering, lack of a better word, a type of service that is not normally used, and that you've built at least a type of a trust with your listenership that they're comfortable sharing this shit and moving it forward. And it's a cool fucking thing. Like I don't know, like most other podcasters are they suck. We suck. Like it's not just, I'm not judging other people, because most people are just doing it for whatever fucking reason. But like, I know, whatever that's turned into, for what that's worth, I think it's fucking cool.
I can tell you, I love the episode. I love the episodes where you talk about music, because I think the 2 of you, I like to think I know a lot. And then the 2 of you, when you start talking about music, I'm like, I know jack shit from apple butter, and I would never like challenge you to a trivia contest. You guys are pretty amazing about music. So,
well, thank you. Well, most of that just comes from, but the funny thing is, if you're like, hey, let's talk about great music of the 90s, we'd be all right with that. But if you say, okay, let's talk about fucking alternative Christian music in the 90s, then it's fucking game on. It's so obscure. But we grew up both, and being from Kentucky, I know, like very, very conservative Christian households growing up. So
this explains a lot.
Yeah, it fucking should. But so the way you talk, I'm assuming you're in Southern California, not like mid-northern. Yeah.
In Los Angeles.
Okay. I was in the Bay Area for a couple of years.
Oh, wow. We love Northern California, but my husband says we could never live there because of the culture. They hate everyone from Southern California.
Yeah. It's so weird.
It is weird.
Well, very night and day different as well, but anyway.
Well, I always joke, because in my effort, like when I talk to people from California, I'm like, oh, I was born in California. It's just as a conversation point. And like, oh, where? And I'm like, San Bernardino. And they're like, oh, okay, never mind. I'm like, okay, that's fair. But yeah.
Oh God.
But I like the San Francisco, the Bay Area a lot.
I do too. We love the weather. I love all of it. But yeah, apparently if we ever mentioned we live down here, we would be, chased through the streets with pitchforks and torches.
That's weird. Because Northern California and they're their own fucking kind of fucking
sure.
It's hard to explain. It's like a super liberal California redneck. I don't fucking quite understand the homogenization that's happened there. It's very strange.
That's pretty perfect. That's actually a great description.
Yeah. But great fucking food, coffee, art, so much great shit up there.
So what moved you out to California?
Jesus.
No. Oh, you know what? I did actually say that. You're right. I did say that because I just didn't understand how I did it on my own. I said I felt God had two fingers in my nostrils and was pulling me toward the West Coast. So I managed comedy clubs in Cincinnati, and I was kind of a big fish in a little pond. And I was like, I've grown as much as I can here, so I'm either going to go to New York or LA. And I went to LA, toured Los Angeles during the riots because I have great timing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
driving
so
a
cool.
20-foot Ryder truck, towing my hillbilly Camaro behind me on a car carrier with my cat next to me. And the number one song in May of 1992 was Achy Breaky Heart. And I had to hear that the entire way across the country.
And a pocket full of Rodney King jokes. She was set for success.
I do have to say, I would call home when I would stop at hotels along the way. I would call home because I left my answering machine hooked up in my apartment. And several of my hilarious comic friends were like, hey, when you're out there in LA during the riots, could you pick me up a VCR if you do any looting? And I was like, oh, thanks. No, I can't. No, I'm not going to do that.
We had a guy on Gordon Firemark a couple days. He was in the Friars Club out in LA and told some stories about meeting like Milton Berle and shit. I was like, fuck you, man. Like that's the whole dream of bullshit.
Wow was with some comics you worked with.
Drop some names.
Gosh, let's see. Tim Allen sucks. Ron White. I do love the fact that you guys.
Why did Tim Allen suck?
Huh? Oh,
you said Tim Allen sucks. That's the first thing you said. That's got to be something.
He seems like to me he's a fucking dick. That's what I would say. Yeah, and he's not very funny.
No, he's very mediocre, and I couldn't understand why he was very successful. I do love the fact that you guys mention comics in your social media. Like I love Nate Bargatze. I didn't work with him; he came up after me. But gosh, I managed 2 clubs in Cincinnati. A Funny Bone and Go Bananas because, they all have to have great names like that. And then I managed one club out here in Orange County called the Comedy Crib. And then, worked in like the film industry. I wish I could, let's see. I don't know if there'd be any comics that you would know and love. A lot of them ended up like writing out here. What were you going to say, Joey?
His comedy knowledge runs fairly deep. Mine doesn't, but more so than mine. But
I mean, I might know, I might not.
That's what I'm saying.
I do like Nate.
Carrot Top. I'm just gonna say Carrot Top for everything. That's my
perfect, and that's where I'm gonna block you. Yeah. There's an age difference, and I think the comics I knew would be much older than Joey would have his encyclopedic knowledge of, but.
The snark here is just fucking wonderful. I love it so much.
I'm not being snarky. I was being honest.
But she called us youths earlier today. She loved the stamina or whatever of youth. And I said,
it's true.
We're 40.
But for some people, for us, we're like, well, God damn it, we live to be 40. But,
Yeah.
I'm 107. So, I mean.
There you go.
Congratulations.
I would say you don't look a day over 19. Just going to throw that out.
I was going to say you don't look a day over 106.
A day over 106. See? Yeah. See, he knows. Yeah.
My mom, for her birthday this year, I got her one of those grabby things where you're old and you can't get things with the shelf. And I got her that and a cane with a tennis ball on the bottom. She was not happy about the presents. So because I never get presents. I never give presents to anyone for any reason other than my kids occasionally. And so she was like, oh, you got me something. This is so sweet. And I was like, yeah, Mom, I love you. And she opened it up. She was like, you are. And my mom does not cuss. And she was like, you're an asshole. I was like, thanks, Mom.
Yeah. She should have punched you in the butthole.
Yeah. Well, I call her like every year. It's been the tradition, like either on Mother's Day or on her birthday. I call her like at like 12:01. Because anytime she gets a call from one of us in the middle of the night, she freaks out because she thinks there's something wrong. And I was like, I just wanted to tell you Happy Mother's Day. She'd be like, oh, Steven, and just fucking hang up every time.
I would block you. I would totally block you. I don't care if you were my child. I would block you.
This has been 20 something years now, every year. But I mix it up. If it's going to be Mother's Day or her birthday, I never let her know for sure.
I got you. All right.
You're like a viper.
I am, but I seriously, other than my kids, like I don't buy it, and my wife, whatever, but I don't get anybody presents ever.
That's true.
Because why? I don't know. My sister gets mad. She always buys my kids Christmas presents, and then she gets upset because I never buy my nephews or my niece's birthday presents. I'm like, they're not my fucking kids. Why would I buy them presents? Like, I don't understand the logic behind this.
I think it's a girl thing.
Yeah, and my parents, I will occasionally, like if it's a big deal or if I see something like, okay, like other than being an asshole, which I like to do from time to time, but every now and then if I see something, because I recognize the role that they've played in my life, like I legitimately have, like, as much as any kid's going to disagree with some of the shit as a whole, I'm very fortunate for my parents. I really am. They're pretty fucking awesome. My dad's a dick, but in the best of ways. And so every now and then, but so if I see something I think they would really like, but I don't like that every year, I'm going to use some shitty thing you're never going to use and you don't really fucking care about. So, whatever. Doesn't
Chicks
matter.
like things.
Yeah.
My
wife likes experiences. Like she would rather us spend a day just doing some cool shit than actually getting like an expensive present. But
you got a good woman then.
I have, honest to shit, I have an amazing fucking wife. I would not be married in this long. I'm on my third marriage, right? Because I'm great at being married.
Okay.
And so, but the first two train wreck, but this, like Tom Moran, legitimately, and not Amanda really well. She's honest to God out fucking standing. Like she much better than I deserve. And her emphasis is on like time and experience more than this shit. And I still get her shit, like because she doesn't ask for it. I would prefer to give her these things because she deserves them to me. But she's happy.
She's
like
playing you. She's totally playing you.
She may be, but she's fucking better at manipulating than I am in that case. So, but even the shit that she's had to deal with me, like, and because I was unmedicated bipolar for the first part of our marriage. So, I mean, I did some shit that was hurtful as fuck. And I get that. And she still has understood why, maybe not the why, but the reason, those things happen. And since I've been healthy and medicated, I mean, she's never fucking left. Like I would have left like years ago. So I'm very fortunate. She's a badass bitch, is what I can say. But anyway, that was my little rant. Like, and I don't talk kindly about people that often, but Amanda's fucking sweet. I like her.
She sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
She's all right.
That and we have sex all the time.
Not today. You slept all day.
No, we still got some.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Thanks.
Good job. So what made you leave the comedy world?
I moved out here and managed the club, and the difference in comedy clubs in the Midwest and in California, in Cincinnati, it was a comedy club that just so happened to serve liquor. And in California, it's a bar that just so happened to have comics. And I really loved the art of comedy. There's nothing better to me than someone who makes me laugh. It's a brilliant artistic expression that is, rare that someone's good. So yeah, I didn't want to be involved in a bar that just so happened to have comics. So I ended up, like I wrote and produced for radio and for TV, and I worked at a film company, and I was a line producer, and it was a lot of soul sucking. And I ended up teaching yoga, which is really weird. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud, but I practiced yoga, and it kept me from killing myself in the entertainment industry. And then my teacher said, I want you to teach. And I was like, well, I can't teach yoga. And she's like, why not? And I'm like, because I'm fat. And she's like, that's bullshit. Teach yoga. So I took a bunch of teacher training, and I taught for 16 years until the beginning of last year when the pandemic sort of shut everything down. But I was doing the podcast, and that's pretty much it now. So
nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not to derail. I derail everything, but as far as comics go, and your experience with that, like who I would like to know, and not names necessarily, but stylistically, because there are always patterns. There's always fucking patterns in everything. Like as far as what you've seen, who are generally the best type of comics and the worst type of comics? And again, just personality type and style as far as delivery and content. Does that make sense with that question?
It makes perfect sense. And I think your opinion that there are patterns in everything is very fascinating. There's a theory that there are only 5 jokes in the universe, and that every comic has taken those 5 type of jokes, whether it's a surprise joke, a mother-in-law joke, a self-effacing joke, whatever. You take that joke and you put your spin on it. I've never been one who likes jokey jokes. Like I think there's definitely an art in that, and set up punchline. It's just not something I like per se. I can respect it and appreciate it, but it's not something I gravitate towards. I really like amazing storytellers and those who are not afraid to, point out the foibles in themselves or in the world. Like a Brian Regan, who's like the most awkward human being on earth, and yet the way he tells a story is pretty magical. The Jim Gaffigan, who's just like a Gatling gun. It's like punchline after punchline after punchline after punchline. Not always my favorite thing on earth, but it's still fascinating to watch. I tend to like people that are odd or different and maybe go off on tangents. Like my favorite comic is, besides Ron White, who's amazing, is a man named John Rigi, who you don't know, but he was from the Cincinnati area, and he was just a weirdo. I mean, you could almost say was like a performance artist, because he did this fucking weirdest shit that I would be on the floor and I'm not an easy laugher. Maybe working in comedy clubs, it's not something I do easily. You got to kind of fucking work hard or catch me off guard, and then I'm yours forever.
Yeah. That's interesting. Like I just watched, this is on my brain. We watched the new Bo Burnham special, which I'm not a massive Bo Burnham fan. Yeah. He does sections of shit that I think are just fucking brilliant. And other stuff is just, whatever. He's performance art comedy, but he's, I don't know, super fucking pretentious. But anyway,
I think he's brilliant. And I would also like to push very hard on his larynx till he stopped breathing.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah. But again, I think he's brilliant and expressive in what he does. But again, it gets whatever. But
it's a little much sometimes.
But his new special,
a lot of
some people are like, oh, you need to, you watch this thing, but just warning, it's super fucking dark. And I watched it and I was like, there is nothing dark in this fucking thing. My definition of dark is much, much different than most people's definition of dark. And I really like dark comedy, but I mean, it wasn't bad. There are a few like things in there that were just fucking great, but it was one of those things like when it hit really hard, but it only hit hard like twice in the whole like hour and a half of me wanting to bludgeon my fucking skull. But
are you familiar with Dana Gould?
I love Dana Gould.
Yes. Dana Gould and Andy Kindler are two that will knock your socks off.
Andy Kindler, I can take or leave it with Andy Kindler, but Dana Gould I really like a lot.
Andy Kindler is can be erratic. He's either going to kill or, as is said quite often, he's just going to eat a plate full of shit. Yeah. And a lot of times people don't get him, but Dana Gould is a master.
Yeah. But I have more respect for people that are willing just to fucking swing for it. And if they bomb, they bomb. If they kill, they kill. Like, fuck yeah. That's what you do. Like that's fucking pushing what you do. That's
I've seen several comedians that will tell a joke, especially when they're trying out material, and but it's a good joke, but it's just not honed completely yet, and no one's laughing. And to see them go, you're not laughing as funny as I'm being right now, or whatever. And I love to see them take the chance, but then also call the audience on something like that as well. I just watched Andrew Schultz's YouTube especially put out last year at some point that was just all crowd work. Like it was nothing but.
Yeah, see, I even like it better when they just don't acknowledge. Like they acknowledge that it sucks, but they don't dwell on it. Just move the fuck on. Well, it's kind of like that with music for me. Like when I used to play, like my thing was always you'll either hate me or you'll love me, but either way, you're gonna have something to fucking say. Like you'll think it sucks, you'll think it's good. I don't fucking care either way. I just want to make an impression while I'm up here. Like that was my whole philosophy. And it was always a 50-50. About half the people said, fuck this guy. And the other guys were like, oh, that was really fucking great. He said cunt. And I was like, yeah, okay, great. Awesome.
Who do you think is one of the better storytellers that is out there right now?
Jesus.
Gosh, that's a really good one.
I just know you said you like someone being able to be a good storyteller in their comedy. So there was
a comic from Texas. Unfortunately, he's deceased. His name was Ron Schock, and he was an amazing storyteller. And he would go on the Tonight Show and run out of time, and they would have to wrap him up because his stories were too long. But they were still masterful. Bill Hicks was an amazing. I mean, everyone I love is dead.
Yeah,
not everyone, but a lot of comics that I still love, and I would. If I'm listening to Comedy Central on Sirius Satellite Radio, I'll sit in my car in the driveway until the bit is over.
Yeah, right.
It's most of the storytellers I love are no longer with us.
And most of and I'm not a comedian connoisseur like you. Like I said, your knowledge of comedy and comedians runs a lot deeper than mine. But like I'm a very shallow person. But when I have things that I just kind of like, I kind of like them. I don't invest a lot into it. Just I'm open to hear new things, but I don't like seek them out. But like I still like my favorite fucking person in the world. I think in comedy is goddamn Norm Macdonald. I love him so much. Like there's no part of me that doesn't love everything Norm Macdonald's ever done.
Yeah, I think he's underrated.
You're exactly right. I think he is a national treasure on a lot of levels. Yeah. At the same time I was falling in love with true crime, there was a late night show it was like Don Kirshner's rock concert. It was on after Saturday Night Live, and it would occasionally have comics, and Norm Macdonald was on, and I'm like 14. And he did a joke about lying, like lies, like spilling out of your evil head. And about, what if someone tried to fool you by wearing a devil mask? Like the people that say the devil made me do it. So like a friend wears a devil mask and he tells you to kill your family, and you go to your friend, you don't know it's your friend wearing a devil mask, and say, well, I did what you asked, O Lord, great host of the hoary netherworld. I've slaughtered my family and buried them next to the railroad track. And then your friend takes the mask off and goes, it's me, Bob. And Norm goes, oh, Bob, you got me. Like rubbing his eye. You got me, Bob. I killed my family. So cut to 30 years later, we're at the smokehouse in Burbank waiting for our car in the valet. And there's Norm Macdonald.
Oh,
and I'm like fangirling. I'm like trying not to pee my pants. And I walk up and I'm like, Norm Macdonald, I just want you to know, I think you're the Lord great host of the hoary netherworld. And he goes, God bless you. Nobody remembers that shit. And I'm like, I love you so much. I was literally like drooling and it was bad. So I think he's a national treasure.
No, he's fucking outstanding. And it's funny because in interviews I've read, like people, they put him in so much high esteem, but general public, other than pockets of people, he's not like on that list of like, well, he's no fucking Dave Chappelle and he's no whatever. Like, no, he's above all of them.
Yeah.
Well, so many of those comedians, the Chappelles and people like that, give him so much props that you don't understand what his mind is doing because he does it so quickly.
Well, some of my favorite clips to watch of him is when he's on like fucking talk shows.
Stern?
Yeah, Howard Stern or
Letterman. Letterman loved him.
Letterman, when they're doing an interview with someone else, but he's still there and he just fucking interrupts and he gives no fucks. The level of like no fucks given with him is one of the things that, and not no fucks given in the sense of I can be as offensive as I want, as much as I'm going to say whatever. I don't care if you're talking to this person. Like if it's coming to my mind, it's coming out of my mouth and it's fantastic. And it's so calculated. So you never know if he's thought about this for 10 years and now the opportunities arisen for him to say it, or if it's just off the cuff. Like you never know where he's coming from.
A little like watching someone like have a breakdown in front of you.
Yeah, it's
just like
wonderful.
devolve in front of you. Yeah, that's one of the things I love about him.
Yeah. But one of the things, just since we've talked to you tonight, I think is really kind of fucking fascinating, actually, because I like these tie-ins that you don't usually expect. Like for somebody that has a background in comedy and managing comedy clubs, doing a true crime podcast, as normal human behavior goes, those aren't mutually exclusive things, right? But when you usually categorize any forms of entertainment, those two things would never cross over. They would assume that your life has been invested in this true crime in like this one avenue, because we simplify so much, because it's easier to compartmentalize people by what they're doing currently, right? So when you have somebody that has a background in comedy, I would never have put it together. And I it's fucking fascinating as shit to me anyway.
Yeah, manage comedy clubs, teach yoga, and love true crime. I'm a weirdo.
Yeah. No, my wife. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And I was going to say, I think it's kind of coming out of the shadows. I think things like podcasts and TV shows that cover true crime, that's where people can meet and talk and, realize you have something in common with other people of all different walks of life. It's
right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. Well, it's funny. Like we always joke too, like the cliche is now if you're a 40-year-old man, like you have to have a podcast, and here the fuck we are. No meaning, just talking about whatever.
That's the new mixtape. Yeah.
Right. But Amanda, she's certified yoga teacher. She did that for a while. She's been a self-defense coach. She's mostly does artwork now. She's a genuinely good artist.
She really is. Yes.
And I wouldn't say that if she wasn't. I'd be like, oh yeah, my wife does art, and I like it. But no, she's like a legitimately talented artist. She does a lot of shit. And we've been fortunate enough over the last couple of years that my job, she doesn't have to work full time. So she's been able to do her art full time, which I think is fucking fantastic. And, but like the level of diversity and complexity that she has in what she does. And she's gotten into, like, she's got her Reiki healing certification. Like, so she has all these different things, that she does. And she's very, very good at all of them. And,
she sounds like a Renaissance woman.
She really is. And like I'm very confident in the skill sets I have, but I recognize the skill sets I have are very fucking narrow.
Yeah.
And so anybody that is talented on a multitude of levels is something that's like, it pisses me off on her behalf. Like I had a lot of I feel like I was very good at what I did musically, but I couldn't have handled it with my personality type had things grown up, but B, I always had this frustration because I was a late bloomer. So I was never able to break out of this small fucking box that I was in. And just being practical, like I know I was good, but I never could get to the point where I needed to be for a multitude of reasons, most of them because I wasn't good at the side of things that you have to be good at to get to another, level of whatever. But she's genuinely amazing, but has never had the opportunity because of her situations. Like as she's been like, she grew up very poor, shitty relationship before me, like abusive marriage. And then was a single mom, no money. But now that we're in a place she can do art, she's got a gallery show coming up here in Knoxville. She got a call from Huntsville coming up, and at Low Mill has her own gallery show. People are booking her for race. So to see her thrive in a way that she's never been able to before, like I'm not jealous. I thought I'd be that, like, oh, I'm playing music. I can't do music. I can't do the shit I love. Like I hate my job. I hate working. Like I hate working a normal person job. But the fact that she's able to be successful in these things means the world. That's the most genuine you'll ever fucking see.
Hey, buddy, you do a podcast.
Fuck you, man. I'm gonna turn your goddamn mic down. I don't know where that came from. And I think it just came from you being in a place where you've had all these things, and it's just this evolution of where you've gotten to. And it's such a cool thing for me to see when people are able to, even if they don't expect it, where those paths end up leading. And then you have people like me that I'm where I don't want to fucking be, but it's been beneficial to someone else in my life. And that's an interesting, I don't know. It's patterns, man. It's all fucking patterns. It's goddamn
That's crazy. A nice gift. That's a lovely gift that you give your wife.
It's not a gift though. It's something that she deserves because she's more than willing to work as much as she would need to work for us. We're just fortunate that I've been able to bullshit my way into some jobs that I'm not worthy to be in because I'm really good at fucking saying what needs to be said. And my whole thing is like, if I can't do what I want to do, I might as well be comfortable doing the shit I don't want to do. And that's kind of where we're at. And I don't know, but I'm happy to see her. And it's really because like, if it wasn't for her, I would probably be in prison or dead. Like, you know me well enough, like at least be doing a lot of fucking cocaine and sucking dick for fucking Oxycontin.
Sure.
But, you know, so like I recognize her value to my life on a very selfish level. If it wasn't for her, my life wouldn't be where it is. And so therefore, it's only fair that she gets to have the things that she wants, because my life is better, because like it's very practical in my own brain. But I'm genuinely in all of her talent. Why the fuck am I rambling?
I don't know, because I feel like I've just lost some time somewhere in my life with you.
I don't understand.
I actually,
she started this shit. It's your fault. It's your fault.
I have a question. Actually.
So, can you see the button down mine of Bob Newhart?
Bob Newhart. Oh.
The framed album. That's my mom's album. I grew up listening to comedy albums.
Also underrated nowadays. Not many people talk about Bob Newhart. Bob Newhart. So good.
Genius.
Mm-hmm.
So
sorry. Like I said,
that's all right.
No, I went on a tangent. I don't know why.
That's not. You're praising your wife.
I was.
Yeah.
It was because I recognized the fact.
You guys must have had a fight earlier today.
No, we didn't.
No, I'm just kidding.
She doesn't listen to shit anymore. She hates this less than your wife hates this, but she doesn't listen anymore.
Wait, why aren't you blaming me anymore? Get back to blaming me. It's my fault again. Why aren't you blaming me?
You said something that spurned a thought, and I fucking spiraled in that thought.
It's always all my fault.
I had a question an hour and a half ago that, for whatever reason, we've talked about more interesting things since.
Shoot, Joey.
Times. But what is the difference between, and maybe there's not, I don't know, but what is the difference between true crime and
fake crime?
Sure, false crime. No, what is it? Is there a difference? So, for example, the show Snapped.
Mm-hmm.
So my son used to work on the show Snapped, so we heard a lot about that. He used to work as a video. He was the editor for them. But is Snapped considered a true crime show?
Yes, true crime means that it happened to true people. It's not a fictional account of something.
They make it fictional because it's drama.
Sure.
They reenact what happened, but it's
on those interviews they edit the shit out of the.
They edit those interviews. They edit those interviews a lot. I got a little inside baseball on that one. Yeah,
it is true crime. The story is true crime,
right?
But they manipulate the fuck out of the interviews with the witnesses,
which is part of the reason my son left that company, because he's like, I can't in good conscience edit what someone said in a courtroom to make them sound guilty when they're not. So
I appreciate your son, because I used to I wrote for reality TV. Reality TV has writers. I wrote for a dating show.
Can you say what show that was?
Oh my God, what was it called?
What was the one with Jenny McCarthy back in the day?
It wasn't anything that good.
Jenny McCarthy was on the 90s.
Yeah, her and Chris Hardwick. It was Singled Out.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
It wasn't that good. It was hosted by a local person you wouldn't know. Her name's Jillian Barbary. You might know her because of
I know that name, yes.
She was on like a NFL thing, but she was a local person out here in LA. Oh, Steven's got to go.
No, he's fine. He's got to take a phone call from somebody. I don't know who it is, but
it's probably Jillian Barbary.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope she wants to punch him in the butthole.
That's interesting that he got a phone call like that. That didn't happen. But so a dating
show. Is it like on a bad date when you want to get out? Like you say, call me in 5 minutes and say it's an emergency?
I don't think so, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's what happened.
Okay.
It would not surprise me. So you worked on you're a writer on a dating show hosted by Jillian Barbary. So what was going on with that one?
What was the what with that one? I didn't mean to interrupt.
You were going to say something about it, and so.
Oh, it's just reality shows have writers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's sad, but it's true. It's not like they just turn a camera on and people just talk about their life. Or go about their life. It's, producers that direct them in a certain way. And like you said, I feel it's fascinating that your son, had enough morals and scruples not to continue on a show that would, want to edit people to look guilty when they're not, just for more views or ratings or whatever. I mean, that's shitty.
He's got his own place or whatever, but he came over here one day and we were talking because most of the time it's wedding season and he's got tons of friends that are getting married. But most of the time he actually comes in here with us and he's behind the camera and we have multiple cameras in here, and he works like, I guess, producing or whatever for us. And he came by and he's just like, I'm not sure what to do, because I was asked to edit this. I edited a video the way I thought it should be, and then I was asked to edit it a different way to make someone say something they didn't say. Like, you're literally cutting sentences in pieces and piecing together something along those lines.
That's a little bit heartbreaking, I'm going to say.
Yeah, and he's just like, I don't. And it may not have been on the show Snapped, but because he worked for the network that runs Snapped, he worked on multiple shows. But she's like, I'm not okay with this. And he's like, I had no choice but to do it, because my editor was standing right over the top of me, kind of in a way making me do it. And he's like, but I just can't. And so at that point, he started looking for another job, and he found one, and he's happy with what he's doing now. But
you've obviously done a good job. You've raised a good kid.
No, Gabe's a piece of shit. I'm assuming you're still talking about Gabe.
We are talking about Gabe. Yes.
I love Gabe. He is a sexy little man.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I love him too, just because he has morals and scruples.
Yeah. Yeah. His
moral scruples in that BBC.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Yes. His girlfriend is a huge true crime fan. She's been considering starting her own true crime podcast. And I said, don't do that. Too many other people do that. Too many other people do that well. So
sorry about the interruption. My dad, my grandmother's not doing well again, and I thought she might be dead, and so that's why I took the call.
No, I thought you were going to tell me your dad was dead. No, I really thought that.
No, he just called me to tell me that he met a guy that was in the Coast Guard today.
Oh my God!
and he knows we're doing the podcast, and he was like, "Didn't mean to interrupt you." I was like, "Dude, I thought grandmother was dead." He was like, "No, she's not doing good. You should probably call her, because she might be soon." But no, I met a guy that was in the Coast Guard today. I was like, "God damn it, Dad!" So sorry.
Did he kill him?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
But no, my grandmother's pretty much on her deathbed at this point in time. Like, it's up and down, and it's at that point. So I've kept my phone on just in case, and that's what I thought that call.
You smoked while you're out there too.
Oh, I absolutely smoked while I was out there.
I thought.
But yeah, I thought that I was like, oh, this is the call. I'm gonna have to go home tomorrow. God damn it, I don't want to drive 3.5 hours. But
at least
I asked Joey if this was like an emergency call, like when you're on a bad date and you have someone call you and say, "Yeah, I got it."
No, I'm having a good time. I thought it's because I'm kind of expected to call at any point in time. My grandmother's fucking croaked. So
I got you.
Anyway, which is, my family gets really upset about that shit. And I was like, she's fucking 90. Like, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway,
oh well,
because I'm a horrible person. Look at their face. Was like, okay.
I don't know. I don't know. Because I can sit here and talk comedy with her all night long.
Yeah, it's fine.
Like, so
yeah,
This
is so I know that.
Hey, there's a comic who was a rapist who got arrested.
He's one of the great storytellers that there's ever been in comedy too.
Oh no, not Bill Cosby. No,
never mind.
Yeah, no. A comic was on tour and he raped college students.
Who are you talking about?
I don't want to say his name, but I did. He worked my club.
Oh wow!
In Cincinnati.
So, if I knew his name, would it be okay if I said it while you were on here?
You can. I think if you did a quick Google search,
someone would text it to me. What do you think about the whole Crystalia situation that started up, I guess, about a year ago when it kind of came to light?
What's the Crystalia situation? What, that he and Justin Bieber are buddies? I don't know. Other than that, I don't know.
It was rumored that he was doing a lot of messaging back and forth with 16, 17-year-old girls. Not physically doing anything with them, but kind of like almost grooming them for whenever they became 18, which is creepy, but not illegal.
Okay.
It's creepy though. Like you shouldn't do that, but it's not, it's not Bill Cosby is what I'm saying.
Right.
So anyway,
I think that's, I don't think that's surprising. I mean, I don't think Crystalia is any genius. I thought he was, funny in that he could do really great impressions of drunk girls, and that's about it. And the fact that he can do very good impressions of drunk girls, and that's about it. Yeah. The fact that he's, Justin Bieber's favorite comic was surprising, and
telling in and of itself.
Yeah, Justin Bieber is a child, not anymore, but still kind of a child. So the fact that he would be grooming young girls isn't really shocking to me. I mean, I think it's shitty, but I think it's also not unexpected.
So I was never a big Chris D'Elia fan. I tried to watch multiple specials that he had, and I just couldn't get past the first 10 minutes of it. And my thing was like always, it's too erratic and too just crazy.
It's a frat boy. It's very frat boy.
Yeah. Well, but my wife. So when Whitney Cummings had her show, Whitney, and he played her boyfriend on the show, which was to me that was an underrated show.
Yeah.
And my wife kind of really liked Chris D'Elia because of that show. And so she was a big Chris D'Elia fan. So we went to see him a couple of years ago when he came to Knoxville. I really enjoyed that show. And I can't stand to watch his specials. But that show was so good. And I'm still not a huge Chris D'Elia fan. I know a lot of young people that are big Chris D'Elia fans. My oldest son, who we were talking about a moment ago, is a big Chris D'Elia fan, but I don't get some of it. But that show was nonstop laughs. It really was.
In person is very different.
Very different. It's very different.
It's like music.
Live. It's great. So
get to what you were talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. Just Chris D'Elia. Like I was asking her what about that, and then she said,
"Well, I thought it came out. I thought we were getting to the end of the."
No, I was. She was talking about him, right. and it's very frat boy, and I was like, I get it. I don't care for specials, but live, he's insane.
Yeah. I thought it came out that wasn't the case though. That the people had taken.
That's not what I've heard.
Okay,
that it was the case. He didn't break any laws. It's just creepy.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think. Yeah. We were given this opportunity to go see Jerry Seinfeld at a like a benefit show, and I was like, this is going to be the worst thing ever, and I'm going to kill myself. And we sat there for an hour and laughed until we were hurt, or like our ribs hurt. And it was Jerry Seinfeld. And it's not that I didn't like him. I thought he was great, but he wasn't like my style of comic. And there's something about someone who's a professional, who's just a master. He fucking got up there. He did all this for free for a theater to, get funds for a theater. And he just fucking got up there and knocked the bottom out. He was amazing. And I was like, I am shocked and surprised how much I love this. This is fantastic. But live is just different.
Yeah, well, Jerry Seinfeld for me, like I don't give a shit about. I hated his stand-up until I mean, obviously Seinfeld, like the show.
Sure.
But then Comedian in Cars came out, and I was like, okay, I can get behind this. He's a dick, and he knows he's a dick, and he's like really good at what he does. But then his new special came out that was
23 hours to kill,
but much more edgy than the other stuff. I was like, okay, he's like, I can get on board with this. Like he's a good dude. But
so what do you think of Dane Cook?
He was great in the early 2000s.
No,
I haven't heard anything from him back in the day.
Here's what I'll say about Dane Cook, like because he was a phenomenon, like for a period of time.
He was,
and the way he can fucking own a stage is like unprecedented.
Well, he used social media to his advantage.
But if you actually break down his material, he's not that funny. But his presence and how he delivers the material is fantastic.
Yeah,
and
I was a huge Dane Cook fan in the early 2000s.
Right.
Now I haven't really seen anything.
I want to bring it around.
Full a bunch of shit.
Go ahead.
He's a great actor.
Yeah, he's a great.
And he played a serial killer in a movie called Mr. Brooks.
Yes, he did. That was a great movie. Yeah. That is a great movie.
Yes,
Kevin Costner, great. Yeah. William Hurt's great in it. Dane Cook is great in it. It's a great movie.
It's no Waterworld.
It's better than Waterworld.
It's better than Waterworld.
It's such a good movie. The way they portrayed a serial killer in that movie is great.
And Dane Cook did a phenomenal job as a serial killer who thinks he's smarter than everyone else and gets fucked. But he was good. He was, shitty and vulnerable, and he was a great actor.
Yeah.
Yes, in that movie, but in that movie with Jessica Simpson, not.
But
so
it
great.
depends on how he's. I'm sure. No. But that's his talent. Is that stage performance?
He's great stage performance. Yeah, for sure.
Incredible.
He's
fucking magnetic for all of his, douchery and shit like that. Like he was a phenomenon for the time he was in the comedy.
Well, he was the first person to really use social media to his advantage because that was MySpace time, and he really used it. And it was revolutionary, honestly, for lack of a better term, because no one was really using social media, and he was like, "No, there's something here to do." And that's why he was able to play to those huge crowds.
I don't know anything about his social media usage.
He was just the only person using MySpace was what was popular at the time.
Outside of all that, I'm just saying, like, watching him perform, like, he was akin to people that owned a stage, like Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor, and people that he could sit there and just fucking own. He owned the fucking crowd. He put them where he wanted them to be.
Speaking of Richard Pryor, for probably the 100th time, I watched Live on the Sunset Strip last night, sitting on the couch at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was about to go to bed, and I saw that Live on the Sunset Strip was coming on. I said, I got to watch it again.
Yep.
It's so good.
Yep.
So Jane Cook sold his, like, recordings out of the back of his trunk of his car. He's like the mixtape guy. And
he was straight MC Hammer. Goddamn.
Well, but he was more talented. But I'm glad to hear you.
Tongue. Have you ever heard MC Hammer preach the fucking gospel? You eat a dick.
No, I haven't.
He's no Mr. T level, but fuck you.
I'm glad to hear you say that about Jerry Seinfeld, because I am a big Jerry Seinfeld fan. I think that there's a lot of darkness in his comedy.
He's very angry. He's a very angry man.
And most people miss it. I think most people miss the anger because he's, for the most part, a clean comic.
Yep.
And there's a lot of fucking darkness up under that.
You're right.
That miss. And my wife, Christmas 2019, the greatest Christmas present she ever got me. She bought me a ticket to see Jerry Seinfeld in Knoxville, March 2020. Well, we all know what happened in March 2020. So it's been postponed. I've still got the ticket for when they reschedule it. But
and it's going to be a great show. I'm telling you. I was like, we went because, we were given this opportunity and we were trying to support this theater, and it was a benefit. And I was like, this is a nightmare and I'm going to hate myself. And I loved every minute of it and left thinking, who am I? It's like he made me reevaluate everything I am, because I loved every minute of it.
I wish he were a little more accessible than he is, but because I would like to I'd like to meet Jerry Seinfeld.
See, I like it when people have the old school, like, I'm not accessible because I'm above you. I love it. I think
I like that amazing. As well, but I would like to meet him. I'm like, it's one of those things that's like, it's a catch-22 for me. I love when people are like, they're like, well, his whole thing about, please don't come up to me and tell me a joke, because I promise you I'm fun. You're not as funny as I can be on stage, and I love that. But I would like to meet Jerry Seinfeld.
See, I really appreciate when people are just complete assholes and like, no, I'm too good to meet the common people. Not going to do it. I'm like, good for you, sir. Because you know what? Yeah. You've gotten yourself to a point in one way or another that you are better than the rest of us. So, you do.
I just got a ticket to see Tom Segura when he's in Knoxville next year. And he's like that. He's like, I don't do meet and greets.
Yeah, I think it's great.
So,
have you ever seen Alec Baldwin just like poke Jerry Seinfeld down to size? It's awesome. Alec Baldwin just calls him what he is and does the fucking funniest shit. He said, if I were you, if I had Seinfeld money, I would just answer the phone like this all day. Hello? No. Click. Hello? No. Click.
The episodes of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Alec Baldwin are some of the best episodes that he's got.
I think you're exactly right. Because he just fucking calls him on his own personality.
Well, I think that's one of the things that's amazing about like Bill Murray, right? It's because he's so inaccessible, but at the same time, he's accessible when he fucking feels like being accessible. Like the stories of him just showing up to places and people like, oh, fucking goddamn, Bill Murray's here.
Yeah, somebody's doing their wedding photos and Bill Murray just walks up in there and it's like, hey,
and that's amazing. But like, he's still, at least the last I read, for movie pitches, other than a very slight few of people, he has a voicemail that you call, you leave the pitch. If he likes it, he'll fucking call you back. If not,
right.
But
it's great.
You don't talk to Bill Murray because he's goddamn Bill Murray.
God. Yeah. I'd love to. That's another one. I'd love to just meet Bill Murray for just a moment. Yeah. I don't want to talk to him long enough to have it ruined.
Yeah.
I just want to meet Bill Murray.
You don't want to know how the sausage is made. I don't know that you want to meet all these people.
Right there.
I don't know that you really want to meet them all.
I just want Ryan Reynolds in my life. That's all I want. Fuck everything else. I don't care about any of these other. I want Ryan Reynolds in my life. That's all I want.
Well, we've talked multiple times.
I want him to look. I want him to look at me and be like, "You seem like a good guy. Okay, cool. We're good forever."
Yeah.
And I want to tell him, you know what? And you look like the kind of guy that I would completely suck your dick for free. Like I want that exchange to happen.
Me too.
And we're good.
Yeah. See, there you go.
He to me is a national goddamn treasure,
and he's not from this nation.
I don't care. He is American as fucking goddamn. I don't give a shit. I love Ryan Reynolds is like the peak of my. I love him.
I had a Canadian tell me that one time though that he said somebody said, "Where are you from?" I said, "American." He's like, "Yeah, so are we." All right, I get it. It's North America, whatever.
Yeah,
anyway,
but I don't know. He's my everything.
I had something I was gonna say, and you changed.
Buddy.
I can't remember. You made me forget. You said something that made me forget it. Oh, I know what it was now. So I love Steven's more into music. I used to be more into music, but over the last 10 years, so I've kind of really got more into comedy. And that's why I could just sit and talk comedy for hours and hours. I love listening to podcasts of two comedians just talking about the behind the scenes things.
Me too.
I love hearing those stories or whatever. And we've talked multiple times about going to an open mic night here in Knoxville and actually going on stage just to see.
Joey won't do it.
No, I've never said I won't do it.
You won't just go up and do it. You have to scope the place, check it out.
Yeah, I want to
go vibe and then go.
Absolutely.
Just go.
I want to go to the place and see what it's like first.
Why?
Because there's, depending on what the atmosphere is like, just there's some jokes that I've written that aren't going to fly.
No, that doesn't matter.
So anyway,
just do it. You just got to do it, man.
But it's one of those things. Like
I told you, I'll perform with you any given night. You let me know. I'll be there.
If I met a comedian and could interview a comedian, I'd say, is 40 years old too late to start trying to do comedy? Not to make a living at it, but to actually go. If any comedian's like, yeah, you're wasting your time to go do an open mic night or anything.
Rodney Dangerfield started at 42.
I know.
That's what I'm saying. You overthink it, dude. You just got to do it. You just got to go up and do it.
But I wouldn't be me if I didn't overthink it.
I know, but that's why you'll never fucking do it.
Oh, well.
Jesus.
Did you ever see the Aristocrats?
Yes. Yeah, it's a great documentary.
It is a great documentary.
Yeah. I would also love to have Gilbert Godfrey on this goddamn podcast. But anyway, that's a whole different.
Yeah. I want to ask him what it felt like to lose the Affleck contract. Oh, God. Anyway. All right.
Yeah. What do you think? As the previous person that's worked with a lot of comedy clubs, if you have decent material, regardless of the club, should you just go do it? Like he's been wanting to do this. We've talked about this forever. And he's got to fill the crowd first.
How'd you start the podcast? You just started it, right?
We started it to just to be able to have an excuse to hang out.
Not why.
No, why? We just
we
just went.
You just started it.
People thought about it. We just did it. Yeah.
You just did it.
You're right.
That's how you start doing stand-up comedy.
You're right.
But it also drives him crazy that I would go up on the same night and I would just go up fucking unhinged because I don't care if I bomb.
I'm a preparer.
That bothers him greatly.
I'm a preparer. Like I actually write jokes out and things like that, and he doesn't do that.
Yeah. Well, that drives him fucking crazy. And I was like, I'll go in front of you, so I'll fucking completely tank because I don't fucking care, and then you can look amazing. Like it's a perfect.
Here's
setup.
the thing about it is, you don't decide who goes when.
Yeah, you do.
No, you don't.
No.
The person booking the show does.
No, it's not booking the show. It's an open mic night, so it's order of sign up. If we go up, I sign up first, and then you go.
Please tell him someone's in charge of that lineup.
Well, you're both right. Sometimes they pick names, and sometimes you don't have a choice when you go. And sometimes the person booking the show puts you in an order they think you should go in, or the order you sign up in. So you're both right.
But most open mics, at least in the music world, it's order of sign up.
I'm not talking about
sign up. It's an open mic.
Music is different.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And but these open mics aren't at comedy clubs. They're at fucking bars and venues
where they don't have a comedy club
where they
anymore.
Also have music open nights. So the general
comedy clubs started in the basements of discos that had failed after the 70s.
And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we could talk to him. Never mind. It doesn't matter. But I'm just saying, just go. I'll go off the cuff and I will bomb and nobody will care.
Have you ever thought about doing stuff together as a duo?
No,
I have thought about it because I have some thoughts on some things, but I don't know that I could ever bring myself to do it.
I can't share attention that way. I'm way too narcissistic.
You played in a band.
They were my backing band that they were hired for. Oh, back when we played?
Yes.
Yeah, that doesn't fucking count because I was 16 and it didn't fucking matter.
What? We were in our 20s, dude.
Oh, for the second one? No.
Oh God, no! You're both right. I should just go up on stage and do it, but that's not my personality. My personality is to go to the room, look at it, and see what. Okay, that guy did that joke. I could probably get by with some of the more.
He's worried about his content.
He's worried about eating a plateful, and sometimes you're going to eat a plateful.
No, I get that. I completely.
But sometimes you're going to kill. You don't know.
Yeah, no, that's completely acceptable. But it's like I don't want to go to a place where certain words are considered. You can't say that here and say that. And then
what sort of comedy club would that be? I don't know of any.
There is no comedy club. These are just.
But they use
open mic.
But they say that
these are just bars here that do music mostly, and they do a comedy open mic because we don't have a comedy club anymore.
Tell him he's wrong, please. Please tell him he's wrong.
And
no, I'm just saying you could go to a comedy club depending on the club you go to and say particular words and not be allowed to come back because certain words are just not allowed to be said in certain clubs.
Do you want to perform at a club that won't let you?
I understand that.
Who cares?
The point I'm making is that I want to find out what that room is like one time and then do it.
Why?
Because that's just how I am.
It's stupid.
Are they billed like as clean comedy? If it's billed as clean comedy, then
I don't know. That's what I want to go and find out.
Then go and just say cunt and see what happens.
That's what the fuck I've been saying. You do,
and then if they don't like it, say it's cunt with a Q.
Right. Or you just go back, or you somewhere else. Like that place isn't the place for you to perform.
Right.
All right. I can concede that you're both right.
Yeah.
It still doesn't change that. That's just not how my mind works.
Maybe you need to change some paradigm.
Maybe I do. Maybe I do.
I'll go up and call anybody a cunt from any stage, and if I get kicked out, I get kicked the fuck out. I don't care.
Oh my God.
I've been kicked out of places.
I know you
have.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so hi, we have our guest Melissa Morgan tonight.
We just went 2 hours without taking a break.
I know, and it's.
Well, I mean, you technically took a break.
Yeah. Well, I thought my grandmother was dead, so fuck you.
And she's still with us. And your dad met a guy from the Coast Guard, so I think it's been a full day.
Yeah, I think it has.
Well, Melissa, we're sorry for wasting your time.
Waste. Steven's grandmother's alive, and his dad met a guy from the Coast Guard. That's not a waste. That's like a huge deal.
No, that's a complete waste.
Okay.
I was looking forward to a few days off from work.
Oh, that's all your grandma means to you? Nice.
Yeah, paid time off.
Nice.
That's all anybody means to me.
Check. Got it.
No. There's nowhere to go from there.
You just
the look on her face right now is
the train was off the tracks, but now it's tried to jump the Snake River Gorge.
Yeah.
So no. Anyway,
but is it wearing like a red, white, and blue leather outfit?
Goddamn right. No. Thank you so much for coming on. Honestly,
it was my pleasure.
You are on. You've got to be top 3 most interesting people that we've had on here. Honestly,
that's so sad.
We've had no. Oh, that's great. No,
believe that
we have interesting people on here, and you have very eclectic work history as far as comedy clubs and true crime and writing on reality shows and solving
a little
murder.
bit of a weirdo. Yeah.
Well, I'll have you back on my podcast when I quit this one and start my new spinoff called B1F.
I love it.
So, yeah.
Just you are your own best friend forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the really.
I thought it stood for butt fucked.
Well, either one. Anyway,
you have anything you want to throw out there and plug?
I have no plugs. I have no hair plugs, no nothing. I have a podcast. That's it.
Well, I mean, obviously, we'll link to that and all of your stuff.
Of course you will. Because you're professional. I know you will.
Like, you goddamn better.
Yeah, you will.
Well, again, thanks for coming on. For all you guys that tuned in, I hope you enjoyed the conversation about crime and comedy.
And I don't say this often, but I enjoyed this episode.
I could tell.
Yeah.
I could tell.
Yeah.
So,
I don't say this often either, but I enjoyed this episode too.
So,
no one says that to us.
So before we hang up, if you'll stay on the line just for a second after we in the stream, so we can kind of tie a couple ends up, and
I'd love to
call it good. Do we have anybody next week coming on?
As of right now, no. I'm trying to get all 3 of my kids.
Oh
in here.
Jesus, that would be so much fun.
So,
because I was pleasantly surprised with Olivia.
I know, but I know you want to ask them all how I felt as a father.
Yeah, well, you felt in so many ways. You felt as my friend in so many ways.
Well, Olivia only gave one way I failed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but anyway. it was pretty good.
It was good.
Okay,
it was.
Right,
so as of right now, we have no guest next week.
Yeah.
But
we're drinking whiskey next week. I'm buying whiskey. I don't know what whiskey yet.
That's fine.
What's going to be whiskey?
Go for it.
It's going to be a bourbon. So if you're out there and you want to drink with us,
of course,
buy a bourbon.
All right. That's it. Until next week. Goodbye. Give us a thumbs up on Facebook at B3F Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at B3F Podcast and on Instagram at B3F_podcast. Send us your questions or comments to bfff.podcast@gmail.com. Rate us and review us wherever you listen to the show. And as always, thanks for listening.